Good morning. My name is Jovita Dominguez, Chair of the Education and Licensing. I'd like to do roll call. Jovita Dominguez present, Dolores Trujillo,
Dolores Trujillo is present.
and Tricia Nguyen.
When present.
And I believe we have Dr. Marianne McCarthy.
Hi, good morning. This is Marianne McCarthy. I am a
Good morning.
supervising nursing education consultant and the liaison to the Education and Licensing Committee.
Thank you. And I believe we have Reza.
Yes, good morning. Reza Pejruhesh, BRN Legal Counsel.
And our EO, Loretta.
Thank you. This is Lori or Loretta Melby, and I am the board's executive officer.
Good morning. I believe our first is to go to public comment. May discuss, take action, matters raised during the public comment section that is not included in the agenda, except to decide whether to place the matters on the agenda of a future meeting. Thank you. BRN moderator, would you take lead?
No problem. Do I need to do the welcome script again, or are we okay with that?
No, you have to do the welcome strip.
Okay, no problem.
It's essentially a brand new committee.
A new meeting.
On the same WebEx, and you haven't left, and I haven't left, and Reza hasn't left. It's a brand new committee.
No problem. All righty. Good morning. This is the BRN moderator. I will be moderating the meeting. To facilitate public comment, we will be utilizing the WebEx question and answer feature. When the committee reaches a point in the agenda at which public comment is appropriate, the question and answer feature will be turned on, and members of the public can indicate that they would like to make a comment by inserting the phrase, "I would like to make a comment," in the question box, which is typically in the lower right of your screen. I will then call on the individual and unmute their microphone. The individual will have 2 minutes to make their comments. I will not give a warning as your time approaches. I will mute your microphone and will announce that your time has exceeded the time allotted. I will then proceed to the next member of the public who has a comment. We will also query our Sacramento public location. Please note that the question and answer feature is being used only as a means for members of the public to represent that they would like to make a verbal comment. When your turn comes, you will be prompted to unmute. If your question can be answered, the committee will respond accordingly. When making your comment, please speak about anything you believe is important for the members to know. Remember, committee members cannot address any item not on the agenda. Items not in the agenda at that moment, items that you would like to add to future meeting, or items that will be discussed later on in the agenda will be discussed at their correct times during the meeting. I will provide a brief reminder of this approach at the start of each public comment item. Finally, when committee members or BRN staff are not speaking, I would like to remind them to mute their microphone. If I detect background noise during the meeting as a result of unmuted microphones, I will mute their microphones automatically. Okay, here we go for public comment. We will be opening for public comment now. Please refer to the screen share for members of the public to see how they should type in their request for comment.
Board moderator, as you're opening up to public comment, I do want to remind everybody about the format of this. I know that you took a moment to kind of explain the format, but what I'm noticing is the Education Licensing Committee meeting has many participants showing up in person, which is unlike the rest of our advisory committees and unlike the rest of our board committees. So I want to make sure that our messaging is clear. This is a teleconferenced board committee meeting, sorry. We are required through Bagley-Keene to have one teleconference location that is publicly noticed where one staff member is present. It is a means to provide a physical location that is accessible to the public and from which members of the public may participate in the meeting. This location allows the public to hear audio of the meeting and remotely observe the meeting and remotely address the body or attend the meeting. It is available and people can come, but I want to stress that there will be no nursing education consultants located at the public meeting location. Me, the executive officer, will not be located at the public location. Board legal counsel, Reza Pejruhesh, will not be located at the public location, and any of our board committee members will not be located at the public location. Therefore, it is not a requirement for any public or any of our academic partners to show up in person, as it will not have any effect on their ability to communicate with board members, legal counsel, the EO, or the NECs. You are welcome to participate remotely from your location throughout the state. We are very cognizant of budget restraints and travel requirements and any other effects that might come from travel. So we do not require that, and we do actually encourage people to participate from their location so that they can continue with their day-to-day dealings, as we know that most of our program directors and academic leaders are incredibly busy. So I just want to make sure that people understand the board committee meetings are held in a teleconference manner and are not held in person. That is different from our board meetings. Our board meetings are held every 3 months, and our board meetings are in a public location where board members, myself, legal counsel, and the BRN Sacramento staff are present and able to provide that public interaction. It is important to note that even though the board meetings are in public, the law requires us to offer the same access to all participants, which means if we have teleconference participants as well as in-person participants, it has to be identical. So that means that that our board members, myself, our legal counsel will not be able to have any side conversations with the public and stakeholders that show up in person, because we will not be able to do that for our teleconferencing participants. So again, coming in person is welcomed to our board meetings, and many people choose to do so. But I want to make sure that it's very clear that it is not a requirement. It is not something that we are asking people to do. And in fact, it should have no effect on the process through the agenda or the agenda items discussed, whether you are in person or remote, as that is purposeful in the law that the access be the same for all. Thank you for that. And we'll go back to public comment.
Okay. Did I get it all done? I'm sorry.
You got it
Yes,
all
you did.
done.
I did
We're
get
just
it all
waiting to
done.
see if anybody showed up, and then I took about 3 minutes of everybody's time.
No problem. Okay. We do have a comment in the Q&A, and it was, will the enforcement intervention agenda be discussed today? If
It
somebody-
will when that committee is open. So this is our board committee day. We have 3 separate committees agendaized for today. And if we were in person, what you would see is one committee would open up and have people at the table in the front. We would bring it to, we'd establish quorum, we'd go through the entire process, and then they would adjourn and they would leave. And then we would start the next committee. Because this is an online format, it is a little confusing as there is access to this meeting from everybody. And this one here is the Education Licensing Committee. This is where we discuss items that deal with our academic partners throughout the state of California. And we just adjourned the Nurse Practice Committee. And so once this Education Licensing Committee is completed and we go to adjournment, we will open the Enforcement Intervention Investigations Committee. You will notice on the top of the agendas, it says that it is to follow the Education Licensing Committee meeting. So that is how it is set up throughout the day to progress, and we will get to that. We don't have a time frame. We do know that the Education Licensing Committee is a full agenda. So we do expect to enter into Enforcement Intervention Investigations Committee later in the afternoon. Thank you.
All right. And then we have a comment here. Just wanted to clarify, should we hold post-probationary public record questions for the enforcement meeting later today, even though it does not involve intervention, or for the board meeting next month?
You can absolutely share any of that information in our Enforcement Intervention Investigation Committee later today, or you can choose to wait for the board meeting next month. That is completely up to you. But those are the 2 areas where our board committee and our board members are able to hear items that are directly related to enforcement, which includes probation, as well as any intervention or investigation issues that we do face here at the board.
Reza here. Just one tiny addition, a little clarification. I think the way that moderator you phrased what that question was about questions regarding the discipline records, I think is the subject. Anyways, questions from the public, just to be clear, during the public comment section may or may not be answered. Oftentimes questions are it's intended for public comment for the committee's questions. Sometimes are not something that can be addressed on the spot with, you know, limited access to information and things, and just being on the spot. Sometimes it's a personal, you know, individual matter that's better dealt with outside of a public meeting like this. That's just to say, you can make comments, you can ask questions, but just setting expectations as far as receiving answers to specific questions, especially given that you might be waiting until the next committee meeting. So I just wanted to add that. Thanks.
Thank you. And this was for public comments not on the agenda. That's where we're at right now, right?
Yes, for Education Licensing Committee.
Yep.
Perfect. Okay. There are no, I'm sorry, Committee Chair Dominguez, there are no public requests for comments on the WebEx. Do we have any public requests for comments in the Sacramento location?
We do not.
Thank you. Committee Chair Dominguez, would you like me to close this window?
Yes, thank you very much. I believe this brings us to 8.2, review and vote on whether to approve previous minute meetings. So I'd like to make a motion to accept the ELC meeting minutes from October 17th, 2024, and allow the BRN staff to make non-substantial changes to correct name misspelling or and or typos that may be discovered in the document. Do I have a second?
I'll second it. This is Dolores.
I'm sorry, did I hear some other than
Yeah,
Dolores?
Dolores Trujillo.
Okay, thank you.
second.
Thank you. So BRN moderator, would you take us to public comment?
We will be opening for public comment now. Please refer to the screen share for members of the public to see how they should type in their request for comment. I've activated the question and answer feature. Members of the public can indicate that they would like to make a comment by typing into the question box, "I would like to make a comment." Please remember, you will have 2 minutes to make your comments. I will not give a reminder as your time approaches. I do not want to interrupt you nor cause you to lose your train of thought. I will mute your microphone and inform you that your time has expired, and we'll move on to the next member of the public. I'll pause for a moment for members of the public to type in, "I would like to make a comment." Committee Chair Dominguez, there are no public requests for comments on the WebEx. Do we have any public requests for comments in our Sacramento location?
We do not.
Thank you. Committee Chair Dominguez, would you like me to close this window?
Yes, thank you. Which brings us to 8.2.1. Or wait a minute.
We need to vote.
We accept. Oh yes, thank you, Dolores. How quickly I get a little spider webs in here. I'd like to take it to a vote. Jovita Dominguez votes yes. Dolores Trujillo,
Dolores Trujillo votes yes.
Trisha Wynn.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries. Brings us to 8.3. Discussion and possible action regarding whether to recommend ratification of minor curricular revisions and acknowledgement receipt of programs progress reports, and whether to recommend ratification of clinical facility approval and other actions. Consent schools and under consideration and identified in the meeting's materials. Marianne, would you lead us, please?
Of course. According to board policy, nursing education consultants may review curriculum changes that do not significantly alter philosophy, objectives, or content, and programs can implement as needed prior to board approval. Nursing programs shall not utilize any agency or facility for clinical experience without prior approval of the board. Each program must submit evidence that it has complied with the requirements set forth by the board and shall assign students to facilities that can provide the experience necessary to meet the program's written objectives for student clinical learning experience. These requests are then reported to the Education Licensing Committee and to the board for approval. This is a consent agenda item. Thank you.
Any other board members have any questions or concerns?
No, I don't.
Thank you. Then I'd like to recommend ratification of curriculum revisions, clinical agencies and facility approvals, and acknowledgement receipt of programs progress reports. Do I have a second?
And when?
Thank you, Tricia Nguyen. BRN moderator, would you take us to public comment, please?
We will be opening for public comment now. Please refer to the screen share for members of the public to see how they should type in their request for comment. I've activated the question and answer feature. Members of the public can indicate they would like to make a comment by typing into the question box, "I would like to make a comment." Please remember you will have 2 minutes to make your comments. I will not give a reminder as your time approaches. I do not want to interrupt you nor cause you to lose your train of thought. I will mute your microphone and inform you that your time has expired, and we'll move on to the next member of the public. I'll pause for a moment for members of the public to type in, "I would like to make a comment." Committee Chair Dominguez, there are no public requests for comments on the WebEx. Do we have any public requests for comments in our Sacramento location?
We do not.
Thank you. Committee Chair Dominguez, would you like me to close this window?
Yes, please. Thank you.
Thank
I'd
you.
like to take it to a vote. I, Jovita Dominguez, votes yes. Dolores Trujillo,
Dolores, excuse me, Dolores Trujillo votes yes.
Tricia Nguyen,
Nguyen, yes.
motion carries. Thank you.
Moving on to agenda item 8.4. This is the discussion and possible action regarding whether to recommend approval, acceptance, or other action for an approved nursing program. There are two parts to this. One is continuing approval of pre-licensure nursing programs, and the other is continuing approval of advanced practice nurse practitioner nursing programs. The BRN staff have received and reviewed all documentation from the program request listed in agenda item 8.4. Information on these requests is on the lists provided in your materials packet. These programs have met all board rules and regulations related to their request and are consent agenda items. Thank you.
Any concerns or questions from the board members?
I don't have any.
Okay. All right, then I'd like to recommend continuing approval of pre-licensure nursing programs and continuing approval of advanced practice nurse practitioner nursing
on.
program. I'm
Excuse
sorry.
me. I
Mhm.
just want to figure out, are we on 8.4?
Yes.
Correct.
I thought there was something regarding Charles Drew University.
That's 8.5.
Okay, great. Then I'm fine. Thank you.
I see Charles Drew at 8.4.
I do too. That's why I'm
And
asking.
8.5.
Well, I think
Got a
8.4
family
was
and
a
psych. Yeah, and then
Oh, two different programs. One's master's, one's baccalaureate.
Yeah.
Okay.
Correct.
can you
Two different
confirm, Marianne?
programs.
All right.
yes, that's
Okay.
correct. Two different
So-
programs. One went through an approval process at the advanced practice, and the one at 8.5 is the baccalaureate degree program.
Okay. Yeah. I
I
see.
know
No
we-
worries, Dolores. I was I had to organize my thoughts too.
I
Um,
appreciate you asking and clarifying. Not a problem.
I want to just be clear. This is Reza. I know we interrupted a motion that was in progress of being made. So this might be getting a bit ahead of ourselves, but Jovita, is the motion applicable to 8.4.1 through 8.4.9?
Yes.
Let's see, what page
Yes.
does that start? Because I just want to look at the
It's on the agenda, the ones under the initial agenda, that section of
yes.
8.4.
Yeah, yes, Reza. And welcome back. Pretty sure you didn't want to come back, but yes, to be clear, yes.
Okay. So when we do a motion like that, again, this is 8.4.1 public event. It will be applicable to all of those agenda items. So if anyone from the public wants to address any one of those, please do so at that time. Likewise, the vote on the motion will be to approve all of those. So if any committee members want to, I would assume, vote in the opposite, vote in the negative, it's probably best to bring it up and pull that particular school out for discussion separately. Thank you.
I believe
So
the
Jovita, probably just restate the motion.
okay, and then Reza, should I say 8.4.1 then?
Through 8.4.9.
No, it's 8.4. That's why, because what's on the screen is 8.4, so I wanted to be clear that it's 8.4.1 through 8.4.9. So on the agenda, that's Azusa Pacific University through University of San Diego.
Okay, so I'd like to recommend item 8.4, continuing approval of pre-licensure nursing program and continuing approval of advanced practice nurse practitioner nursing programs. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Tricia. BRN moderator, would you take us to public comment? Thank you.
We will be opening for public comment now. Please refer to the screen share for members of the public to see how they should type in their request for comment. I've activated the question and answer feature. Members of the public can indicate they would like to make a comment by typing into the question box, "I would like to make a comment." Please remember you will have 2 minutes to make your comments. I will not give a reminder as your time approaches. I do not want to interrupt you nor cause you to lose your train of thought. I will mute your microphone and inform you that your time has expired and we'll move on to the next member of the public. I'll pause for a moment for members of the public to type in, "I would like to make a comment." Committee Chair Dominguez, there are no public requests for comments on the WebEx. Do we have any public requests for comments in our Sacramento location?
We do not.
Thank you. Committee Chair Dominguez, would you like me to close this window?
Yes, please. Thank you. I'd like to take a roll call. Jovita Dominguez votes yes. Dolores Trujillo,
Dolores Trujillo votes yes.
Tricia Wynn.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries.
Agenda item 8.5, discussion and possible action regarding whether to recommend continuing approval or other action for an approved nursing program currently on deferred status. Charles Drew University Baccalaureate Degree Nursing Program. Information about this program can be found starting on page 59. And board moderator, if you could please elevate the presenters from Charles Drew.
I'm going to interrupt really quick, Dr. Marianne McCarthy. Nothing about the agenda, but we did notice that on the teleconference, the video conference in the Sacramento location, it did go dark and we did have staff members standing up, waving their hands. I wanted to reassure the public that that was not an emergency or anything that needed to be addressed immediately. What has occurred is if it is there's not a lot of motion. The motion sensors do not detect that, and it will shut the light off at that location. So for any of them that may have concerns of what just occurred in Sacramento, it was just that the lights went off, and our staff was working diligently to get the motion sensors to determine that they are still there and turn the lights back on. So I wanted to make sure that nobody had concerns about what occurred in Sacramento right now. Thank you, Dr. Marianne McCarthy, for allowing me to pause and let people know on the call. Please continue.
Yeah, good to know. No problem. So for Charles Drew, a joint continuing approval visit with the BRN and the Commission on Collegiate Nursing Education was conducted in September of 2024. The initial BRN approval of the baccalaureate degree program was granted in February of 2021. The first cohort of these graduates graduated in the summer of 23. So this is a relatively new program. One area of noncompliance was found on the visit with CCNE, and that was that their NCLEX pass rates were less than 75. The program has submitted a progress report outlining corrective actions, and things are being taken into consideration in place to achieve and maintain an NCLEX pass rate of above 75. The program anticipates that they will come into compliance in 2026. So on their pass rates, 22-23, they didn't have any graduates because they had just started. So this is their first pass rates in 23-24, and they were at 68.42%. Each program writes an executive summary that's submitted with the materials. Their summary starts on page 60, and we do have their representatives here to answer any questions you might have. Thank you.
And then just for some clarification, just on process here, you may be familiar with the process that is outlined in 16 CCR 1431 licensing examination pass rate standards, where typically a first year NCLEX pass rate less than 75 is just a reach out from the NEC. They start to work on them, and that's not something that we present to the board. So I want to make sure that we're very clear that we're not stepping out of line and presenting this in lieu of following that requirement. What occurred is we had a continuing approval visit. There is an area of noncompliance, and so to stay in consistent kind of process-wise with that, every continuing approval visit that has an area of noncompliance does not typically receive a recommendation to a continuing approval. What is typically done is the board defers taking action on the continuing approval, which then allows that program to make the corrections. And then when those corrections are made, you guys, as we did in the prior agenda item, make a motion to accept and then put them in the continuing approval status when all rules and regulations are shown that they're in compliance and they've been met. So just to provide that clarification, it may look to some that we're going outside of what our normal process is with regards to the NCLEX pass rate. However, we're not. We are right in alignment with the continuing approval visit, which was what occurred, and that's what we're reporting out as this is the area of noncompliance.
Mingus, I have a question.
Go ahead.
I'd like to hear from Charles Drew University on this.
Sure.
And of course, I've read the information, but I'm wondering why there was no attrition rate. I mean, I do know that it's a new program, but I would still think they would know whether everybody who entered is still in the program.
I see, Gail, I see you on. I don't see Sharon right now, but do you want to respond?
I see Sharon on, or it says Sharon Carr, but it wasn't showing that you were unmuted. So are you?
Yeah, can you
Okay.
hear me?
Okay,
Hi,
good.
Good morning.
now.
Yes, and probably you can see my video. Good morning, everyone. How are you?
Hi.
There we go. Hi. Okay, there we go. Good morning again. It is a pleasure to come and speak to you. And I know we had lots of programs on the agenda this morning, so this one is in regards to the baccalaureate program. And so as you can see on the report that you received, we did have attrition, just like in the first cohort. We stated in terms of some of the students drop off. It is a small cohort that we have been receiving. As you stated, is a new program, and just like we have reviewed, we did have some students that that did not make it in terms of our program policies, and so we did adhere to our policies, and they did have to receive in terms of withdrawal and such. So we did have that in terms of, we've been keeping a high retention rate, but I did have to say attrition, we have been monitoring in terms of keeping in alignment with the Board of Registered Nursing. So there has been in terms of student been dropping off of that.
And so Tricia, just to clarify on the agenda item summary, why there's nothing there is because we can
Yes.
only take the full, like the NCLEX, we only take full years. We also only take full data that comes on the survey. So it's not in there, but we did have them put it on
Thank you.
their actual summary. I apologize for not pointing
No,
that out.
that's fine. I just didn't understand that. Thank you.
No problem.
So I have a question.
Yeah.
Your NCLEX scores came in low. Is there any planned remedial action for these students to retake the NCLEX, and what you're going to do for them prior to them retaking the NCLEX?
Definitely. So we've been working with it. In my role, I do oversee all of our pre-licensure nursing programs. For our entry-level master's program, it's at a 92%. So that's our other companion program. So it's just, we did an in-depth assessment and definitely working with our NEC and with our dean, our Dr. Gail Washington, is really with our faculty and with our staff doing a holistic depth and assessment, especially looking at our baccalaureate program. So we've realigned with looking at individual assessment of both our faculty, our staff, and with students, looking at specific testing and starting from the beginning. So we've looked at some areas such as inserting clinical judgment and critical thinking as prerequisite courses for our baccalaureate program. So we're making that as a launch starting summer, coming this summer, as well as dosage calculation. So we're starting from the beginning of our program up until the end, because even though we had these readiness, kind of readiness indicators throughout the program, we're realizing that we're just strengthening it more, especially in alignment with our mission of our university being where it's at, especially for at-risk students. We just want to make sure that it's even more preparedness for our student population and for the demographics that we serve.
What do you think was the common reason or denominator that your NCLEX scores were low? I mean, was there something?
There's a myriad of reasons. We've done a lot of data and working with our institutional research team here. A lot of times we've I think we've talked to a lot of institutions across the country actually, and with our partner schools here, we've realized test anxiety has come up a lot, especially in terms of delay for testing. So currently we offer reimbursement to students. We actually offer a large reimbursement of students when they go to test and they pass on the first time. We actually reimburse them the testing fee. So we're just making sure right now we've embedded a faculty coach to text them weekly after they've graduated, because we're making sure, like, how can we make sure we keep in contact with you after? So we've embedded that even more. We used to do it via email with their personal email, but now we're trying to even do a more in-depth personal contact approach. Do we need to call? Do we need to text? Do we need to remind? Because we know our students, after they've graduated, they're just like, okay, now I'm back in the real world. I might need to work. And so they may not remember that I need to do after 30 days, or within that 30-day period, I need to go take NCLEX. That's the most important thing. So we need to ensure, how do we get more reminders to just go and do it? So that's what we've realized from our data approach, is that might be the biggest delay. It's definitely testing delay. It's not waiting 2 or 3 months.
Thank you, Ms. Coe.
Of course.
So thought that the letter that you submitted with the challenge and then the intervention was really helpful in terms of, really kind of getting into the nitty-gritty and figuring out exactly what you need to do to get these young people to go and take the test.
Thank you. We're hoping, and we're working with the faculty each month. We have faculty summits too. So we're working all together, and we go back and we reanalyze, and we're like, okay, everybody on the team, are we realizing it's working? What do we need to do to reassess? So we are data driven because we really want to make sure it's working with our group of students because we really want them to succeed. And going back to that point, we have seen success with those who are testing. If they didn't pass the first time, we do reach out to our repeat students. So we are seeing success in that. And so we just want to make sure we're engaging with them, but we want to see the most success in those going to test on the first attempt. That's the most important. That's what we're all here for. You've invested all this time. We want to see that outcome. I don't know if I don't know if Dr. Washington wants to add anything to. I know time is precious. So I don't know.
Hi, Dr. Cobb.
Okay, there we go. Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, hi. Good morning, everyone. I'd like to say that we're making some strides in doing the improvements and the necessary steps to enhance the success of our students. We are coming into a situation, or we have a situation in that we have first time generation or generational students entering into a very rigorous field, and we're trying to make the steps, and we're doing it as we're flying the plane, so to speak, because we have the students. We've developed a plan, and as we look at our plan, we're constantly reevaluating, and as Dr. Cobb said, using data to influence our decisions in terms of our strategies and what we're doing to help our students. And I'd like to say that our educational consultant, Dr. Schutte, has been very encouraging and compassionate with us as we try to have this new program be successful in terms of pass rates. Thank you.
I don't have any further questions.
I don't either. Thank you.
I do want to praise the championing of the students because it is a different era. And I just speak from teaching. You just have to find a way that I mean, they're all different. Every single student is different, no matter how many you have. So I'm thankful that to hear that you guys are championing the students, which which way they like to communicate, because it has to be individualized. Unfortunately, it's harder on the educator.
Yes. And I would like to echo that. I think with the area and the students that we serve, we know that, and with the region that we're in, we know that there's various barriers, especially socioeconomic barriers that our students face and trying to adapt with it. So we are understanding and realizing what measures we have to implement and have in place in order to ensure that our students are set up for success. And we're trying to make sure that it's success driven and where we can meet them to ensure that they are going to have those dreams that they have come into place and where we can meet them. So if it's nightly peer tutoring that we have from 5 to 9 p.m., that's what we have in place for them as well. So these are the measures that we've implemented here to ensure that.
If the board members are okay, I'd like to recommend defer taking action on the continuing approval status for Charles Drew University Baccalaureate Degree Nursing Program while they work to clear the areas of non-compliance. Do I have a second?
I can second it.
Thank you.
Is that period for a year?
So that was I was gonna add, do you guys have a specific requirement for them to return? I know that Dr. Marion McCarthy, when did they put in their summary that they believe they would be in compliance?
2026. They thought they'd be in
2026.
compliance.
Okay, so
So we can certainly do, I mean, quarterly progress notes. However, we know it's going to take longer to get the results because we only take yearly results. So it's going to take longer. There won't be a lot for them to tell us except what they're doing and how they're progressing through their plan to improve.
And so that's just so clarification. So typically you guys say return to the board in 1 year, and typically you guys say quarterly reports to the NEC. With this being the NCLEX pass rates, we will not have another annual NCLEX pass rate until the end of June. We typically receive it in July, start to review it, then it goes out to the programs for them to review for accuracy, and then it gets published to our website, usually by October. So it is a process. So we will not have that updated one until probably July. Your next board meeting will be August. We could report out a progress report at that point if you guys want to, but we will actually not receive anything kind of affirmative like they are planning until 2026. With NCLEX being that issue, you actually have to kind of get any of those kind of interventions that they are proposing implemented and have that actually show an outcome at testing. So we're not going to see that while they're in school, right? They have to graduate and then test before we can see anything. So this is a little bit different. You could still ask for progress reports. You could still ask for them to come back in a year, or you could leave the motion as it is written here and just the continued NEC communication, which always happens, will happen if there's anything that's issued. The NEC would then bring it back forward without having specific board direction, but it's completely up to you guys.
Well, board members, what are your thoughts?
Sense is they don't really need to report back until they have something to report.
Yeah,
I mean, we know
I'm
that
with
Mary Ann is
Tricia on
keeping
that.
an eye on everything, so.
yeah. Just
Return to the
back in a
return to
year.
the ELC and board in a year, which would be January, February 26.
Yeah.
So do I add that and okay, so so then after non-compliance, I would say return back to the board in August of 2020.
January, February
January,
2026.
February. Okay. All right. So I'd like to recommend to defer taking action on the continuing approval status for Charles Drew University Baccalaureate Degree Nursing Program while they work on their work to clear the areas of non-compliance and return to the board January, February 2026. Do I have a second?
Can we state the motion January, February, or do
She
we?
just did.
Okay.
She said in 1 year,
I
January,
know,
February.
but I didn't know if we needed to narrow it down to like return to board committee or board meeting. Okay.
No,
I
we would,
second it.
especially because we don't vote on the specific dates of the board
Sure.
until probably August this year. So there may be 1 year where we decide not to do committee in January. Who knows?
Hey.
We'll adjust accordingly.
Is there
All
a
right.
second on that? I'm willing to second if there wasn't.
Thank you,
second.
Tricia, and both. BR and moderator, would you take us to public comment, please?
We will be opening for public comment now. Please refer to the screen share for members of the public to see how they should type in their request for comment. I've activated the question and answer feature. Members of the public can indicate that they would like to make a comment by typing into the question box, "I would like to make a comment." Please remember, you will have 2 minutes to make your comments. I will not give a reminder as your time approaches. I do not want to interrupt you nor cause you to lose your train of thought. I will mute your microphone and inform you that your time has expired, and we'll move on to the next member of the public. I'll pause for a moment for members of the public to type in, "I would like to make a comment." Committee Chair Dominguez, there are no public requests for comments on the WebEx. Do we have any public requests for comments in our Sacramento location?
We do not.
Thank you. Committee Chair Dominguez, would you like me to close this window?
Yes, please. I'd like to take vote. Hi, Jovita Dominguez votes yes. Dolores Trujillo,
Dolores Trio votes yes.
Tricia Wen. Thank you. Motion carries.
Thank you. Agenda item 8.6.1. is discussion and possible action regarding acceptance of a substantive change to an approved program. This is California State University Fresno Baccalaureate Degree Nursing Program. They are requesting an enrollment increase. Information on this program can be found starting on page 67 of your packet. And board moderator, if you could please elevate the presenters on the list for Fresno State. So California State University Fresno is located in Fresno, California, within the county of Fresno and in the Central Valley. Their current enrollment pattern is 60 students twice a year for an annual enrollment of 120 students. And their requested enrollment is 70 students twice a year for an annual enrollment of 140 students. So this is an increase of 20 students annually. Their growth data and information for Region 6, which is where they're located, is on page 69 and 70. And each program writes an executive summary, and their information that they wrote and submitted to the board starts on page 71. We have representatives here to answer any questions. Thank you.
Real quick before we go into this agenda item, I do want to provide some additional information. We have been receiving letters of support that are being posted as supplemental materials. They are being sent directly to me and asking me to share them with our board members. I want to provide some guidance to our board members and to our schools on the call regarding this, as this seems to be kind of an area of contention, and I want to make sure that we address this for all board materials moving forward, and board committee materials moving forward for 8.6.1 and any enrollment increase, new campuses, et cetera, in the future. So in 2020, during our California State audit requirements, they asked us to immediately cease requiring any schools to provide letters of support or letters of opposition when it comes to seeking information around enrollment increases. We did that, and we are continuing to move forward with that. We are not requiring letters of support. We are not requiring letters of denial or non-support. Where I want to kind of redirect and point our academic partners, as well as any of our stakeholders and public on the call, is to the sections of our law which kind of addresses the requirement to the school. So when a school that is prior approved by the BRN opens up and wants to do an enrollment increase, one of the requirements that the board committee as well as the board takes into consideration is adequacy of resources. That adequacy of resources looks at faculty, looks at building locations, looks at clinical sites, looks at the budget, looks at books, looks at everything, right? And so as part of that, we request a document called an EDP 11 where they map out all of their courses. We look to see whether or not those courses align with the approved curriculum that we have. We also then look at the faculty that they've had listed, that those faculty are in fact appropriate for that content area, and then adequate in number. And then it also shows classroom size, and we ensure that the buildings are there to support growth and that you're not kind of violating fire code, et cetera, in those classrooms. They get classroom space. And then we also look at the clinical facilities, right? So it is a very extensive list when we look at resources. In 16 CCR 1427, when it starts to talk about clinical facilities, all of our clinical facilities must be pre-approved by the NEC to ensure that they meet the objectives of the program. So that means we look at your curriculum and can those clinical sites meet the clinical objectives. It's in a very extensive review, which is why new campus locations, new programs take anywhere from up to a year, sometimes longer depending on the schools, because they'll ask for extensions to provide this document to us. And enrollment increases take typically around 6 months because of the extensive review that comes with that. The section under 1427 that I want to call attention to is D. And it says, in selecting a new clinical agency or facility for student placement, the program shall take into consideration the impact that an additional group of students would have on students of other nursing programs that are already assigned in the agency or facility. Well, how do you know that? You know that by reaching out to the facility and saying, are there other schools that are using this location? If the facility is willing to give you that information, that's fantastic. If not, you do a reach out to your local nursing programs and say, hey, are you guys using this facility? That is where your work starts. That is not a requirement for a letter of support. That is not a requirement for a letter of disapproval. That is a requirement for you guys as the school that's looking to expand their enrollment to reach out to find out who are the other nursing programs assigned to the agency or facilities that you guys are choosing to use for your clinical rotations if you are asking to expand. That information has to be reported to the NEC, and that information is then what is presented and reviewed by the NEC and ultimately presented to the board. It is a requirement in law for that to occur. I have met with several people over the last few months that says, I don't find this requirement in law. So I wanted to make sure that you guys understand that that is where that requirement is. And it is not asking you guys to say a school supports this or doesn't support this. It is asking for you guys to understand who are at the clinical sites that you guys are using and to understand the impact of that and to work collaboratively with your partners, your academic partners out there, and to report that back to the board so that we have that information to make decisions on. So that is for your typical enrollment increase. When we're looking at new campus locations and when we're looking at new schools asking to start a nursing program, we refer to a document called the EDP IL1, which is incorporated by reference in law. That document on page 2 says note, under G says evidence of availability of clinical placements for students of the proposed program. Include any list of the clinical facilities that may be utilized for learning experiences and a description of any plan for future addition or expansion of health facilities. Provide a completed facility verification form, the EDP IL1 revisioned 1022. That is lower in the document for each healthcare facility that has agreed to provide clinical placements for students of the proposed program. When available, verification shall include the accommodation specifying shift and days. Then it says note, clinical placements of the new program must take into consideration the impact on the use of the clinical facility by existing pre-licensed or registered nursing programs and must be coordinated with any process for clinical placement, such as consortiums for regional planning, including a description of your collaboration and coordination efforts with any existing registered nursing program and any regional planning consortium. This again goes back to that identical process, reaching out to the facility to find out what other nursing programs are utilizing that agency. And if you're not able to get responses from your clinical facilities on that, reaching out to your clinical partners in the area, your academic partners that are saying, hey, are you guys using this site? I'm planning to use this site for a new program. That way you know the existing pre-licensed or registered nursing programs and you can work with them collaboratively, including consortiums. And then again, reporting that back to your NEC so they can review that and provide that information to the board. The additional document referenced on there is called the EDP IL1 revised 1022, which is a facility verification. That form is different than the EDP 18, which is a helpful form and not a required form in law. This is referenced in law. This form is required. And on that form, it says, provide the following information on all other schools utilizing your facility. Attach additional sheets if needed. And it asks for the school. It asks for the category of students, which are LVNs, CNAs, and RNs. It asks for the number of students, the days and hours of those students, the semesters, whether it's fall, spring, summer, and any units used. It does also have a checkbox that says this agency does not have spaces to offer clinical spaces to the new program. It also has a checkbox that says this agency intends to offer clinical placements to this new program. So that is a form that is referenced in law, that is a requirement for us to obtain this information. So again, these are not letters of rejection. These are not letters of acceptance. It is truly a requirement that the board put forth that you guys as academic institutions reach out to your facilities and your local pre-licensure nursing programs, find out who is using what facility and what you guys are doing to collaborate in that manner so that our board has that information to reference. We ask that if you guys are seeking letters of support or letters of rejection to stop that, because that is not something that the board is asking for. And in fact, that was a California state audit recommendation that we cease immediately asking for those. So in the future, if I'm receiving letters of support and letters of denial, I will not be posting those to our website, and we will be asking our NECs to redirect that back to the program. However, if you are a program that says, hey, this is going to impact us, if you're a program that says they did not reach out to us and we are in that area, if you are a program that has any other information around the resources and you want to provide that information to our board, we will take that in letter form. We will take that in public comment. So please continue to reach out. But what we don't want are letters that are solicited from the program that's wishing to enroll, increase enrollment, or that saying, do you support us enrolling and do you not support us enrolling? So we're trying to be very, very clear on those expectations so that we are in compliance with our laws and so that you guys reference back to laws so that you guys can say, yes, this is a requirement, or no, this is not a requirement. So thank you very much for allowing me time to provide that additional education here as part of these next meeting agenda items, as it is all pertinent to what has been turned into us and the process that we go through to collect this data. The NECs review this data and they present this data to our board committee for initial review and then ultimately to our board. Thank you.
Thank you, Lori.
Definitely a lot to understand. I appreciate the like the definitions and everything that what is needed for this program or any program in California.
Any program really, because this is really kind of abnormal where I started receiving multiple copies of kind of a standard letter that says we support, we support, we support, and that's not the ask from our board, and it's not in alignment with our law. We're not asking for letters of support or letters of denial. We are asking for really information on what the school has done to collaborate with the other schools to ensure that when they add an additional site or additional clinical group to a current site, that they know the impact of the other program and they are working with that other program to be collegial in that. We do not want any of our nursing students to not be able to progress and not be able to graduate based on availability of clinical placements. And that information is very helpful when the board has to review this to look at resources when they are evaluating potential clinical sites and new program growth or current program growth.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lori. I do have just a comment on this item. You know, I really struggle with some of these, you know, these proposals that come in front of us with, you know, where they're doubling their enrollment. But with this one, it's, you know, it's a very modest increase and it's in an area that is not heavily impacted. And we've not turned other schools away because of clinical placement. So, I mean, this one is a very easy proposal for me to support. So I just wanted to put that out there. As I reread the minutes, I saw all my heartbreak and all my anguish over these items. And I was reminded how tough a lot of these decisions are, but this one
Very
seems
tough.
very, very straightforward to me.
Thank you, Tricia. Any other comments or?
One of the comments that we will be doing today, we'll be asking to do today is this first ask is for California State University, Fresno. That is a school that's located in Region 6.
Mhm.
It is noted on page 69 of your materials that there is another school, Career Care Institute, that is additionally asking for enrollment growth in Region 6. So we will be opening up, if the committee members agree, that Career Care Institute will be the next agenda item. We will take them out of order so that you guys consider all of Region 6 together, very similar to what we did in our last meeting. Going forward, I have spoken with Dr. Marianne McCarthy, and we will set the agenda up in a way that has the regions grouped together. So if we are taking Region 6 first, we will take all school requests for growth, new campus, et cetera, of Region 6 as consecutive agenda items so that our committee can be kind of more organized and consider the region and the effects on that region as you guys go through this. And so this one is Cal State University that is asking for 70 students twice a year for an annual enrollment of 140. It is an increase of only 10 students twice a year for them, their ask. Career Care Institute will be the next one if you guys agree to take that out of order. They are requesting to increase 88 students annually. So it would be 40 students 3 times a year. It is located in Lancaster, which is Region 8, but it does border on Kern County, which is in Region 6, which is why we do want to make sure that we kind of consider those. Similarly, once we complete Career Care Institute, we will then roll immediately into the rest of the Region 8 so that you guys can see as now these counties and regions start to overlap.
Thanks, Lori. That's a great idea.
That's a great idea, yeah.
Definitely.
I myself do not have any questions. This is a very modest increase in an area that is very slowly becoming impacted, but not quite there yet.
Right.
So I have no problem with this increase of 20 annually.
Okay, then I'd like to make a motion, possible motion to recommend acceptance of the substantive changes requested by the approved program and approved or the enrollment increase for California State University Fresno Baccalaureate Degree Nursing Program with an enrollment pattern of 20, is that
70
right?
students
70
twice a year
students twice a year
for an annual enrollment of 140 students.
with sorry, the school has requested 70 students twice a year for an annual enrollment of 140 students, an increase of 20 students annually. Do I have a second?
I second it. This is Dolores Trujillo.
Thank you, Dolores. BRN moderator, would you take us to public comment, please?
We will be opening for public comment now. Please refer to the screen share for members of the public to see how they should type in their request for comment. I've activated the question and answer feature. Members of the public can indicate they would like to make a comment by typing into the question box, "I would like to make a comment." Please remember, you will have 2 minutes to make your comments. I will not give a reminder as your time approaches. I do not want to interrupt you nor cause you to lose your train of thought. I will mute your microphone and inform you that your time has expired, and we'll move on to the next member of the public. I'll pause for a moment for members of the public to type in, "I would like to make a comment." Committee Chair Dominguez, there are no public requests for comments on the WebEx. Do we have any public requests for comments in our Sacramento public location?
We do not.
Thank you. Committee Chair Dominguez, would you like me to close this window?
Yes, thank you very much. I'd like to vote yes, Jovita Dominguez. Dolores Trujillo,
Dolores Trujillo votes yes.
Trisha Wynn,
Win, yes.
motion carries.
Thank you very much. So as EO Melby described, we're going to move to 8.6.7. And this is discussion and possible action regarding acceptance of a substantive change to an approved program. This program is Career Care Institute, Associate Degree Nursing Program, and they are requesting also an enrollment increase. Information on this program can be found starting on page 120 in your packet. And board moderator, if you would please elevate the presenters on the list for Career Care. Career Care Institute is in Lancaster, Los Angeles County, Region 8. And as Lori spoke earlier, additionally, Lancaster borders on and includes resources in Kern County, which is also Region 6, which is part of the Southern San Joaquin Valley. Their current enrollment pattern is 32 students once a year for an annual enrollment of 32 students, and they're requesting 40 students 3 times a year for an annual enrollment of 120 students. This is an increase of 88 students and 2 additional admissions from once a year to 3 times a year. So their annual enrollment will increase from 32 students annually to 120 students annually. Growth in areas 8 and 6, both of those regions that they are in, is on page 123 through 125. And as always, the program wrote an executive summary to explain their request and their resources, and that starts on 126. The program is here with representatives to answer your questions. Thank you.
Who has been elevated for the program?
I see
Is it Heather
Evelyn.
Hunter?
No, Heather is the NEC. It would be Evelyn.
Okay.
Or it could be Ima. Ima's on as well. Ima's the program director. Evelyn is the president.
Okay.
Probably Ima. Ima, can you answer questions for the program?
Very well. Good morning and thank you for the opportunity. I'm here to take your questions, please.
I'm having a hard time hearing her. Is it just me?
No. Can you get a little bit closer?
Okay. Let me
That's good.
increase my volume. Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Good morning. Thanks for the opportunity. I'm here to take your questions, please.
So I see that you're located in Lancaster.
That's correct.
Yeah. That's 88 students. So have you collaborated with any other schools as far as clinical sites? Do you have support for this increase in your clinical sites?
Yes. I've collaborated with 3 schools via email, personal visits, and I did submit the documentation to our NEC.
Yeah, I thought I saw it.
Yes, and I'm going to be very honest and sincere here, as always. One of the schools we have 3 programs around here. One is High Desert, the other one is Antelope Valley Community College, and the other one was Antelope Valley University. And I did collaborate with all 3 of them. Even though Antelope Valley University, they did not have, I used did because unfortunately the school is now closed. They did not have an ADN program. They had LVN. They were using some of the clinical facility that we use. Basically 2 of them. These 3 schools basically use 2 of the clinical facilities that we have, which is Antelope Valley Hospital and Palmdale Regional. And I did collaborate with all 3 schools. High Desert did give me their go-ahead and blessings. Antelope Valley Community College, yes, of course, like every other school will always have concerns, but the program director did tell me that we probably have more clinical facilities than them. And she did give me her go-ahead verbally, but when I came back from that in-person visit and I asked her to send me a confirmation email, she kind of did not comply. So, but I'm open, like I told her, we have always collaborated. We've not had any issues of displacement. We have 13 clinical facilities that we have signed contracts with, out of the 13, we basically use 4 to 5. So we have backup clinical facilities to accommodate this increase. We also have we have also had the blessings of clinical partners, advisory board members. We have the structural facility. In fact, our structural resources is underused. We have the faculty to cater for this need, even though in the next 1 year or so, we may have to add 3 to 6 faculty to cater for the increase. So yes, to your question, we have collaborated. We do have the support of our clinical partners. We have the structural facility, and we have the technical know-how for this increase.
Thank you. So you're located in Area 6, I believe, correct?
I think Region 8, but I think he does border a little bit in with
Oh,
Region
yes,
3.
Region 8. Okay.
Yeah, they're on 6 and 8 because
Yeah.
they border the San Joaquin.
I'm just concerned about the increase of 88 students. I mean, yes, I know we just approved an increase for another program for 20. 88 just seems much higher.
This
Another-
location is
Concerned about
incredibly
that
rural.
also. I'm
Yeah.
concerned about that also. It seems like quite a big jump. And you know, the school's kind of success rate and NCLEX passage rate. You had a very strong year last year after 2 very weak years. I'm going to discount 2020 because the world was on fire, but it just seems like a very ambitious
Increase. Mhm.
Okay.
When you're, when you don't have a great track record. So I'd love you to talk about that a little bit.
Sure, Ms. Tricia. I know it does appear as a very ambitious jump. However, we also have to understand that, we are coming from 7 years. It's been 7 years before the request for this increase. Yes, we did have 2 bad years, maybe 3 bad years of NCLEX and poor NCLEX outcome. And I remember I was here in this committee in 2023, and I said, I just took over the program at that time as the program director. I said, just give me a chance to prove that something can come out of this. And you did. And we came out with a 95%. This last year, I know that it has not been posted. It's not formalized yet. We also polled it with an 85%. So we went back to the drawing board. There were reasons for those poor NCLEX pass rates. The first year we had the program, we polled 85, and then it was multiple things. We identified it was probably a new program. Of course, we know that research shows that it takes about 5 to 7 years for a program to kind of stabilize. So we were still in a teaching period. We had issues with change of leadership, where the new program director probably came and took down a fence without really looking at why the fence was put up. But all of that is in our past now. We have faculty that has taken the success of the students as their own success. And so we have all this. We have an NCLEX, we call it templates that we use for our students. And I'm telling you here that we cannot go below, the benchmark for the NCLEX outcome for our students. We support our students even after they have graduated, because we identified that preparation was a factor too. So we support our students from once they get into their core nursing course, because our first 2 terms, they are general education. So it's from term 3, we start exposing them to NCLEX style questions, reflective assignments. We integrate the clinical teaching with the didactic, so that, because we discovered that it was kind of isolated theory, as if we're treating it theory is separate, clinical is separate. No, we have integrated that. And our outcome is going to be good. I know moving from 30 to 80 looks like it's too big of a jump, but there is a need. I also want to quickly throw in that we have an LVN program that is a brand in this community, and we enroll about 200 students every year, and those students, our LVN program started in 1998, and we started the RN 2017. Those students want to advance, so when they finish, we tell them goodbye. So there is a need. At this point, for October 2025, the Dean of Academics has evaluated more than 70 transcripts, but we only have 32. So there is a need. There is the support of clinical partners. Faculty, they are here. In fact, one of the issues that was a problem was that once faculty will come and teach, we tell them goodbye, come back next year. So we're losing our faculty to other schools. There was no consistency. And this 3 cycle of enrollment will guarantee consistency in the teaching learning process and better outcome for the students.
If I may add, if I may speak, good morning. My name is Evelyn Oriana. I'm president
Hi,
of CCI.
good morning.
Good morning, board members. I'd like to support everything that our program director, Ms. Ema, just stated. In addition to the fact that we have increased the resources to support this increase. One of what she made mention of, we have hired faculty, full-time faculty. And as Ms. Ema stated in the past, it was very hard to retain them because the program comes around, the terms come around once. So these content experts were waiting a whole year to be able to come back and teach. We've employed them full-time, and with the a hope and expectation to be able to eventually justify the part-time employment with this increase. So the staff are here, the faculty are here. We don't want to lose these faculty members because we no longer have the assignments that we have prepared for. Ms. Ema made mention of the class that we just graduated. We graduate 1 cohort a year, so we don't get to reflect pass rates until the middle of the year, but all those students have tested. We are at 85% pass rate for the entire class. We did have a couple of those students fail. However, we are working with them to ensure that on their next attempt, they pass their NCLEX. We have, aside of everything we incorporated and we added to the program, we have one of our full-time faculty members conducting a one-to-one NCLEX review for the students after they graduate. So we put the measures in place for the students while they are here attending school. And in addition to that, we're providing NCLEX review. It's available to them depending on their availability so that they are successful when taking their licensure exam. So again, we have prepared with the resources. We have the space in our facility. We have the resources. We have the candidates. We have several applicants, as Ms. Ema mentioned, and it's unfortunate to have to only be able to give the 32 selections annually.
And if I may add to what President Evelyn said, I also want to mention that in 2023, we had a curriculum review, a curriculum change, which sort of front load our general ed course to terms 1 and terms 2. Because in the past, we also identified this as a contributing factor to a poor NCLEX out rate, the 2 or 3 years. We discovered that the students were kind of struggling while taking the nursing course, which we all know that is very heavy in terms of content and what they need to understand. They were also taking the general ed course alongside. So with the curriculum change that started in the fall of 2023, the general education courses are now front-loaded into terms 1 and terms 2. So we also have another thing that leads to the need for this program is that we have students who have all their general ed courses done. They can now come into term 3, or students wait on the wait list, you know, to get into a nursing program or maybe get into community college, you know. They are now coming into term 3 and start term 3 because they already have the general ed courses done in another community college. So the need is there, the resources is there, the clinical facilities are there. In fact, during, I don't know whether I should throw this in, during the just concluded Christmas term, we had to go around all the clinical facilities and they were like, we don't see your students. Many of them, more than 5 of them, we don't really get to use it, but we just try to maintain the relationship, you know, so that they know that we are still present. So with this enrollment increase, we'll get to utilize our clinical facilities, utilize our faculty fully, and our structural resources that have been underutilized. Thank you.
What hospitals in the area do you use for your clinicals?
I have about, we have Antelope Valley Medical Center. We have Palmdale Regional. We also have Kaiser, if I may list them. We have the Los Angeles Correctional Facility. That's not a hospital, but yes, we also have the Los Angeles Department of Health, and we have some Dignity Health Hospital that we have agreements with, but we've not had need of them, you know, and other.
You're not, I'm sorry, just to clarify, you said you're not using the Dignity?
We have a contract with them, but
Okay.
we have not had need to use them because, you know, all our needs, they're a little bit, even though they're within the 100 miles radius, but our needs are accommodated within the ones that are very close to us here, like the Antelope Valley Hospital and the Palmdale Regional. So now with the increase, yes, we are able to accommodate all of those ones within the 100 miles radius that we have retainership agreements with them, but we have not really done students there.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And I appreciate your in-depth explanations of why this increase should be granted. I'm personally thinking that that's a very ambitious number. And I mean, I'm willing to grant something or vote for something a little smaller than that, probably in the range of 60, 66. But I think if we do something a bit smaller, and then you could always come back based on the success of your program. You could always come back and make another request.
Dolores, that's what I was thinking too. I do appreciate how much work you've put into this, and I do understand that it is a part of the state that needs, you know, more students and more nursing, but this just seems too ambitious for me. I'm just a little bit uncomfortable.
So I think going for 60 would allow
The board,
also.
I'm sorry, we had requested an increase for 3 cohorts of 40 students in total. Currently, we have 1 cohort of 32 students. Would the board
Yes.
consider 3 cohorts of 32 students?
Yeah, I was actually going to jump in, Dolores, because they're talking
Okay.
about faculty
Got it.
and maintaining faculty and maintaining their clinical sites. This
Yeah.
is kind of the conversation that we had last committee meeting as well.
Yeah, now I remember.
The enrollment pattern that they're requesting really should be considered so that they can maintain clinical placements and maintain faculty hours. The students which hit those areas, you can look at like clinical groups at that point, which that is something. So definitely, Evelyn, we hear your request. So right now, your current enrollment pattern is 40 students 3 times a year. Is that accurate? And you're asking to
That's their
No.
request.
No,
No.
No,
we
that's a
are-
request.
We are at
Sorry.
That's
1
the request.
They're
cohort.
requesting
Since
We are
our
requesting
initial
42.
approval, we've
Thank you.
had one cohort of 32 students each year. And we are requesting now 3 cohorts of 40 students a year.
Thank you. Thank you. So going from 1 enrollment a year to 3 enrollments a year so that they can maintain their faculty load and maintain their placements at clinical. So if that's something that the board committee could consider when looking at this, that would be appreciated.
So right
Makes sense
now,
to me. And I mean, I think that is kind of along the lines that Dolores proposed and that I am supporting. So maybe rather than saying 60 students, we would say 62 students so that there could be 3 cohorts of 32 students in each.
it would be 64, right?
Right, it would be
3
64.
cohorts of 32 would
I
be
mean, it would
96,
64
right?
It
would
would be 96 instead of 120.
Right, right.
right. So I'm looking at 64 rather than 88. That gives you 2 cohorts of 32, and there's also the addition of the 1 cohort that you are approved for already. So
We have 32 students already
Yeah.
a year. The 3 cohorts at 32 students would put us at 96 students a year minus the 32. That would be an increase of 64 students.
64, correct.
And I will accept that.
Okay.
I support that. Yeah.
Trish or Jovita, your thoughts?
I like how we were able to come to an agreement. I support that.
I do too.
Okay.
I
So
do
we're
have a
landing
question.
at 32 students 3 times a year, correct?
Yes.
Yeah,
That's where
it's
we're going?
actually, yeah, in total.
So the
Trish.
annual
Total
enrollment is
enrollment.
96 students, and this is an addition of 64 students instead of 88.
Yes.
Right?
That's correct.
I do
Thank
have
you
a
so much. Thank
I
you.
do have a question for the school. I know we've came, I don't remember which month, but I know in Fresno, there's a consortium, right? Um, are they enrolled in that consortium? And the reason I ask is because when Merit had their extension over in Fresno, some of the schools had said that they weren't in the consortium, and they actually, I'm just using Samuel Merritt as an example, and I'm just asking the school if they're are they in the consortium?
No.
And would
No.
they consider that?
We are not in the consortium. I think that the clinical partners that we work with, they do have their own scheduling organization, which they want us to be part of, which we are utilizing. That is working very well for us and the facilities. Now, if there is a need to join a consortium, we will be open to that. But right now, we are not part of the consortium.
And what do the committee members think? I mean, we can't, I don't know if, I feel like going towards consortium would help that area.
Well, I'll explain a bit about consortiums for you
Yeah.
guys to
Okay.
completely
Thank
understand.
you.
Consortiums are only as good as the clinical facilities that are in them. And so if this school is utilizing clinical facilities that are not in a consortium, joining a consortium will not help them. Right?
Correct.
Because that
I
means
am-
that anybody utilizing that consortium is not even working with the clinical sites that they're utilizing. So that is in areas that have a robust consortium, that's fantastic. Fresno, San Jose, San Diego, Orange County, those have some really great consortiums in them. And we do want our schools to partner with those consortiums because a lot of their clinical placements will come from facilities that are part of that consortium. So you want that collaboration. This school here, the clinical sites that they're using are not in a consortium, so it would be of no benefit for them to join a consortium at this point. If the facilities that they are utilizing, or if they start to look out into other facilities that are part of a consortium, then we always encourage at that point for them to be part of the consortiums in their areas so that they can coordinate that with the other schools that are doing that. But clinical consortiums are only as good as the clinical facilities that join those and make decisions utilizing the consortium.
That's correct. Thank you, Ms. Loretta.
Thank you, Lori. Okay, do we have any other questions or comments from Tricia Jovita?
I'm good with our decision or future decision.
Pleased with your proposal, Dolores.
Okay, so let's go ahead and make a motion. We recommend acceptance of the substantive changes requested by an approved program and we do not improve their request. So
Just change the numbers at the bottom as you read it.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Approved program and approve the enrollment increase for Career Care Institute Associate Degree Nursing Program with an enrollment pattern of the school
32
has
students 3 times a year,
32 students 3 times a year. Yeah.
for an
Yeah.
annual enrollment of 96 students.
Yes. And this is an increase of 64 students annually, right?
Correct.
Annually by increasing admissions from once a year to 3 times a year.
Okay.
I second
I
that.
second. Okay, thank you, Tricia. BRN moderator, would you take us to public comment?
We will be opening for public comment now. Please refer to the screen share for members of the public to see how they should type in their request for comment. I've activated the question and answer feature. Members of the public can indicate they would like to make a comment by typing into the question box, "I would like to make a comment." Please remember, you will have 2 minutes to make your comments. I will not give a reminder as your time approaches. I do not want to interrupt you nor cause you to lose your train of thought. I will mute your microphone and inform you that your time has expired, and we'll move on to the next member of the public. I'll pause for a moment for members of the public. Type in, "I would like to make a comment."
Jovita, Dolores, and Tricia, as we're waiting for public comment, the next school that is located in Region 8 would be Chamberlain. So they would be the next one on the agenda.
All right, thank you,
Thank you.
Lori.
We could take a 5-minute break before we start that one after public comment here.
Possibly.
Thank
We
you.
could probably take you want to take a 15?
Well, are we
Well,
considering lunch like at 1
We
or
might
2:30?
consider, yeah, it is 11:22, and so you may consider lunch, or you might do a 5-minute break, lunch later, or you may consider lunch. So just throwing that
Well,
out to you guys.
we could do a 5-minute break and then consider lunch later. What do you think, Jovita?
I like that.
Okay. All right.
Committee Chair Dominguez, there are no public requests for comments on the WebEx, but there is a comment. It's from Judy Cornell. "I support the Fresno increase in enrollment. No questions or concerns." Do we have any public requests for comments in our Sacramento location?
Hey. We do.
It muted, Matt. We didn't hear the full thing that you had said.
We do not have public comment in the Sacramento location.
Thank you.
Thank you. Committee Chair Dominguez, would you like me to close this one now?
Yes, please. Thank you. I'd like to vote. Jovita Dominguez votes yes. Dolores Trujillo
Dolores Trio votes yes.
and Tricia Nguyen.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you, board
Thank you,
members.
board
We
members.
appreciate your
Thank you so
time
much.
and
Appreciate it.
thank you.
Thank
Well,
you.
thank
We
you
are
for
taking a-
compromising with us. Thank you.
And
Thank you.
answering our questions. We appreciate it.
Of course, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And so are we taking a 5-minute break before we move to
Sure.
the next agenda item, which would be
So-
Chamberlain for Region 8?
Yeah, why don't we come back at 11:30? What do you guys think?
Sounds great.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. So we have our quorum.
Yes.
Okay. Moving forward, next up is going to be Chamberlain. This is 8.6.2. Discussion and possible action regarding acceptance of a substantive change to an approved program. Chamberlain University, Irwindale, baccalaureate degree nursing program is asking for an enrollment increase. Information on this program can be found starting on page 74 of your packet. And board moderator, if you could please elevate the presenters on the list for Chamberlain. Chamberlain University Irvindale is in Los Angeles County, Region 8. The baccalaureate program was initially approved by the BRN in February of 2021, and they are requesting an enrollment increase. Their current enrollment pattern is 40 students 3 times a year for an annual enrollment of 120 students. And their request is to go in 2025 to 30 students 6 times a year for an annual enrollment of 180 students, increasing the frequency from 3 times a year to 6 times a year. And then in 2026 and forward, they want to do 40 students 6 times a year for an annual enrollment of 240 students. This will be an annual enrollment increase from 120 to 240 students, an increase of 120 students annually. And again, this is on their, if you need to look at it, it's on their AIS, which starts on page 74. It has the current enrollment and their proposed enrollment request. Also, their growth for Region 8, their growth and information about Region 8 starts on page 76. And they have also submitted an executive summary in the materials, which starts on page 78. So everything kind of flows through from the AIS to the data to the executive summary for each program. And representatives are here should you have any questions. Thank you.
Sorry, I didn't realize I was still on mute.
No, it's okay.
Thank you for coming to us. So I'm just, well, not concerned, but curious as to the enrollment pattern. You're increasing from 3 times a year to 6 times a year. You want to explain that a little more? Why you're
Sure.
doing that?
Yeah, sure, we can do that. As we said, we currently have an enrollment of 43 times a year. We are a semester-based 16-week semester. And within each of those 3 semesters, we have 8-week sessions. So this would allow us to, instead of doing 43 times a year in that first year, it would be 30 each session. And that would allow us to continue to use those same clinicals that we currently have in that next session. So it would not be adding to or increasing anything that we don't already have, and to be able to continue to use that. Additionally, our plan is to utilize additional simulation, so that we would then not be, also we keep to our 500 direct patient care hours for the entire program without really needing to use anything that we don't already have. And then the following would be doing the same in the next year, just as a planned incremental increase. Hopefully that explained it. If not, let me know and I can try to explain further.
Okay.
One thing to jump in really quick on just some of the language that was used, where it said we're not planning to use more than what we already have. So they may already have contracts with these clinical agencies, and they may already be utilizing these clinical agencies, but they would be adding additional student groups to these agencies if there are more students coming in. So they wouldn't be absorbed in current clinical groups. They would be expanded into additional clinical groups at the same facility.
And then the other thing I would say, though, is that we have the clinical rotations, and that we would be able to utilize some of those same rotations for two groups because we're doing the maximizing of the 500 hours as well.
I'm
So the
just
maximizing of the
focusing.
500 hours, is that dropping down to the minimum of 30 hours per specialty area? So your peds will be down to 30 hours, your OB will be down to 30 hours, your psych will be down to 30 hours, and then the rest would be in med surg and Jerry to equal the full 500?
Correct.
Okay.
So you're looking at an increase basically of 120 students annually.
Yes, but over a 2-year period, so not all at once. So 60 in the first year and then 60 in the next year. So
And
that is correct.
remind me again, this is Region 8 or 9?
Mhm,
Los Angeles 8.
mhm.
Yeah, we've got a lot of schools in that area.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is an ambitious number, personally. I'm willing to take into consideration the thoughts of the other committee members.
So Doris, I think you and I, went over this last, on the last school. This seems overly ambitious. It's doubling in an area where there are other schools, and I'm always very concerned about the clinical placements. I'd be more comfortable with, a smaller number, and maybe beginning May 2025, 30 students 6 times a year, but then not increasing, to 46 times a year after that. Allowing maybe 180 students rather than
Just thinking of the
140.
math on that. So that would be 180
Yeah, 180
instead
rather than
of
240.
240. That's honestly along the lines that I was, that's exactly what I was calculating too.
Does that work with the retaining faculty?
It does. It didn't affect the frequency. They're still getting the
Okay.
6 times a year that they would like.
Yeah. Well, that would be my proposal.
I like it.
You also can consider taking public comment before, if you want,
Sure.
just to hear what people have to say, if anybody has anything to say. Of course, you don't have to. We're going to take public comment either way, but
I'd like to take public comment before a motion is made.
Okay. BRN moderator, would you take us to public comment, please?
We will be opening for public comment now. Please refer to the screen share for members of the public to see how they should type in their request for comment. I've activated the question and answer feature. Members of the public can indicate they would like to make a comment by typing into the question box, "I would like to make a comment." Please remember, you will have 2 minutes to make your comments. I will not give a reminder as your time approaches. I do not want to interrupt you nor cause you to lose your train of thought. I will mute your microphone and inform you that your time has expired, and we'll move on to the next member of the public. I'll pause for a moment for members of the public to type in, "I would like to make a comment."
Board moderator, as you're allowing for public commenters to come on, I'm just going to say that the next agenda item would be Region 9, and that is Stanbridge. So that way people can be prepared. So Region 9, Stanbridge is the next agenda item. Thank you.
that is 8.6.4, if that helps anyone. Helps me.
Chair Dominguez, there are no public requests for comments on the WebEx. Do we have any public requests for comments in the Sacramento public location?
That's you, Matt. Do we have any comments there?
We do not.
Thank you. Judy Cornell would like to make a comment. 1 second, please.
Judy Cornell's
Yes,
not able to, oh, there we are. Perfect. Thank you.
Yes, my only concern really is for clinical rotation sites. There seems to be a real challenge in that area. I do agree a modest increase probably won't have too big of an impact on that. They can probably use their current clinical facilities for that modest of an increase, but it sounds like they're really looking to increase further as time goes on. And I'd like to see them do some exploration around what the clinical site opportunities are before they, so that that information can be taken into consideration before additional increases are made. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Committee Chair Dominguez, there are no other public requests for comments on the WebEx. We have no public requests for comments in our Sacramento location. Would you like me to close this window?
Yes, thank you very much. Dolores, would you help us with the motion?
Sure.
Thank you.
I would like to make a motion to recommend acceptance of the substantive changes requested by an approved program and approve the enrollment increase for Chamberlain University Irwindale Baccalaureate Degree Program, nursing program, with an enrollment pattern of 30 students 6 times a year. Do I have that right? The number, I just want to make sure I have the number right. It was 30
students,
times a year for a total of 180 students per year. So the school has requested 40 students, but we are allowing 30 6 times a year for an annual enrollment of not 240 students, but 180 students. And
Yes, so that's all you need is that middle part,
okay, great.
because I don't think you're approving either of the others. So
No.
starting with beginning 2025.
Perfect. Do I have a
Jovita
a second?
Dominguez seconds. Thank you.
Great. We've gone to public comments, so let's take it to a vote. Dolores Trujillo votes yes. Jovita Dominguez.
Jovita Dominguez, yes.
Patricia Nguyen.
Win, yes.
All right. Thank you.
Nice work. Okay, here we go.
Thank you very much.
We're going on to Stanbridge, which is agenda item 8.6.4. Thank you for your patience with me as I find them out of order here for me. So this is discussion and possible action regarding acceptance of a substantive change to an approved program. Stanbridge University Baccalaureate Degree Nursing Program is requesting an enrollment increase. Information on this program can be found starting on page 93. And that will start with the AIS, followed by the growth information for Region 9, followed by their executive summary on 97. Board moderator, if you could please elevate the presenters on the list for Stanbridge. So Stanbridge has multiple campuses, but they are requesting an enrollment increase at their Orange County campus, which is in Region 9. So their current enrollment in Orange County is 30 students 4 times a year for an annual enrollment of 120 students. And their request at the Orange County campus is 40 students 4 times a year, which is an enrollment increase of 40 students from 120 to 160 students per year. And we have representatives here to answer your questions.
And I do have some additional background on Stanbridge, just so that our board members are aware.
Thank you.
This exact request came forward from Stanbridge in February of 2023. They asked for this location to grow from 120 to 160 with an increase to 40. And this is one of the few requests that the board has denied. And so I did want to bring that to the attention. If you do look at the requests that have been denied over the past 5 years, Stanbridge had this increase request denied. Stanbridge also had their increase for request in the Los Angeles area to restart their ADN track of 20 students, annually denied as well. There is only one other college that had a denial in that time period. And so Stanbridge University is asking for reconsideration of that denial from 2 years ago. They're not asking to increase it. They're just asking for the same ask that they put forward 2 years ago.
Thank you, Lori, for that.
Thanks.
I would just ask, maybe this is to Dr. McCarthy. What's changed in Orange County in in 2 years from February 2023?
I
to
think
February?
mostly the changes in West Coast.
That's it.
That they
Yeah.
have come into compliance now, and they have brought their enrollment pattern down to the board recommendation, and that started implementation in October. So that, I think, is where we're seeing some openings. And also, I mean, I don't have any direct data, but there is what they spoke about in the last group, which is everybody's coming down to their 500 hours, trying to get closer to their 500 hours. And as they reduce down to 500 from whatever they had before, because many schools have way more than 500 hours of direct patient care, as they come down to the minimum, it opens up clinical spaces because they don't need as much time at the bedside.
Well, I do think we need to take into account that West Coast did probably, coming into a compliance and the actions that this board took, probably did open up some clinical placements. And, I do think 40 students is a modest increase, and they've been waiting for it. I would be inclined to support this request. But again, like Dolores, would be interested in hearing the thoughts of other committee members and the public on this.
Yeah, I definitely agree, Tricia. I think it's a fairly modest request for an impacted area.
Yeah, and just so that
I
you guys
agree.
are aware, West Coast University, when the board did make that decision, they had asked for 1,100 in their Orange County location, and we did only approve 960.
Yeah.
So they had a difference of 140 students from specifically the Orange County area. And so we're still, with this request, a net negative. However, I can pull up the request that had come through on Region 9, which is Orange County, after West Coast University's request and adjustment. And West Coast University, we adjusted it in November of 23. They did come into compliance in our last board meeting. CNI College in Orange County in August of 2024 did request an enrollment increase of from 200 to 250, which would have been an increase of 50 students. And that was granted. But they had requested up to 320. So you did drop it down. They had originally asked for 120. You dropped it down to 50. So there is an increase of 50 of the 140 that was vacated by West Coast University. And so now an increase of 40 students annually, we're at 90, which is still 50 less than what West Coast University had been utilizing in the Orange County area, if you want that direct correlation.
I'm also understanding or reading from the AIS that for Region 9, our enrollment decisions have resulted in a growth of over 1,000 students, new students.
Yes, that was primarily the West Coast University one, right?
Yeah.
It did increase by 960 for West Coast University in Orange County, because that was
Also
not
had
the
the
previously
addition.
approved one.
I'm sorry. We have also had the addition of 3 new programs.
Correct.
40 is okay with me also, but I would like to hear if there's any public comment on this.
I agree with that. BRN moderator, would you take us to public comment, please?
We will be opening for public comment now. Please refer to the screen share for members of the public to see how they should type in their request for comment. I've activated the question and answer feature. Members of the public can indicate that they would like to make a comment by typing into the question box, "I would like to make a comment." Please remember, you will have 2 minutes to make your comments. I will not give a reminder as your time approaches. I do not want to interrupt you nor cause you to lose your train of thought. I will mute your microphone and inform you that your time has expired, and we'll move on to the next member of the public. I'll pause for a moment for members of the public to type in, I would like to make a comment.
And true to form, what we've been doing recently is just kind of taking this moment during public comment to gear up the next presenter. And the next one will be Region 5, and that is Westmont. So Region 5, Westmont.
Agenda item 8.6.6.
Philip Wolf would like to make a comment. 1 second, please. Philip, go ahead.
Very quickly, my name is Philip Wolf. I'm the CEO for Kindred Hospital Westminster, Santa Ana, and La Mirada. I do support Stanbridge in growing their population. They have been one of the most polished and professional schools that I've seen, and we do appreciate their students, and we will have room for more students, and we've been bugging them and asking them for more students at our hospitals. So, and that won't displace any other students. It's just that we have more room and we've been asking for more students. So I would appreciate your consideration from that. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your comment. Lisa Hahn would like to make a comment. 1 second, please. Lisa, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay,
Sorry.
fantastic. I'm the CEO here at Anaheim Regional Medical Center. We've had a long-standing relationship with Stanbridge, and prior to CEO, I was actually the CNO. And I just did want to comment on the clinical rotations. I know that's a heavy focus, and we have more than enough space here at the hospital. Our census is able to accommodate, and I echo the sentiments of the gentleman before me. The Stanbridge students are coming out. We are hiring those Stanbridge students. They are becoming members of our staff here. Very polished program. They're producing a great bedside nurses, and this increase would not displace any other schools that we partner with as it relates to clinical rotations.
Thank you for your comment. We have a comment in the Sacramento Public location. Go ahead.
Hi, Julie Corliss. I worked with Stanbridge for a number of years, actually on the campus, helping them start this program a number of years ago. They are putting out really great students. I hear it all the time from all the clinical sites that I do go to now. And I would say that never have I ever seen any displacement or heard of any of it anywhere. I know it's been a hard time in Orange County, but they have utilized these clinical sites for many, many years, so you won't ever hear that. So I would certainly recommend for them to add a little more. They do have hundreds more on their, I wouldn't say wait list, but inquiries. So it would really be great to see that. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your comment. Committee Chair Dominguez, there are no other public requests for comments on the WebEx. We've heard from the Sacramento Public location, and there are no other requests there. Would you like me to close this window?
Yes, thank you very much. So hearing if the committee members are, and I feel we're in agreement, I'll make a possible motion to recommend acceptance of the substantive changes requested by an approved program and approve the enrollment increase for Stanbridge University Baccalaureate Degree Nursing Program, Orange County campus, with an enrollment pattern of 40 students 4 times a year for an annual enrollment.
No, that's not what.
Sorry. What did we agree?
Did we say 32 students?
That was the last program.
That was the last one.
very sorry.
No,
I'm very
that's
sorry.
okay. That's okay.
Sorry.
There's
Okay.
this one you guys have talked
You're
about
right.
doing the 40.
I'm very sorry.
No
I'm
worries.
sorry. You're right.
So I
40
will,
students, you're right.
okay, so I can go to 40 students 4 times a year for an annual enrollment of 100 students, an increase of 40 students annually.
160
60
students.
students, yes.
Yeah, and then it says an increase. Okay.
Yes.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it. This is Dolores.
Thank you,
Trujillo.
Dolores Trujillo. And I will take roll call. Jovita Dominguez votes yes. Dolores Trujillo
I vote yes.
and Trisha Wynn.
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you. Motion carries.
Okay, we're going to move to Westmont. They are 8.6.6. And again, this is a discussion and possible action regarding acceptance of a substantive change to an improved program. This is Westmont College Baccalaureate Degree Nursing Program, and they are requesting an enrollment increase. Information on this program can be found starting on page 112. And that's the AIS, which will then be followed by the regional information, and they're in Region 5. And then following will be their executive summary that they wrote to the committee. Board members, board moderator, if you could please elevate the presenters from Westmont. So Westmont College Baccalaureate Degree Nursing Program is located in downtown Santa Barbara, and it's in Region 5 on the Central Coast. Their current enrollment pattern is 24 students twice a year for an annual enrollment of 48 students. Their request is to go from 24 to 36 students 3 times a year instead of twice a year for an annual enrollment of 108 students. This is increasing 60 students annually and adding 1 additional summer admission annually. If you will please go to page 112 in your packet, you can see how they want to implement this increase. They're going to show you summer, fall, spring. They're going through the next couple years of how they want to implement. And I just would prefer that you look at that as opposed to me trying to read it to you.
Yeah, this is an area, really, there's not a whole lot of nursing schools in the area. Region 5.
Yeah, Santa Barbara.
Yeah.
Did worry about just looking at this is that, there's Cuesta College, there's Allen Hancock, there's Monterey Peninsula College.
But
There's
Trisha,
all-
if I may remind you, Monterey Peninsula is in my area, which is Central Coast. And then Cuesta College is in San Luis Obispo, and San Luis Obispo to Santa Barbara is still quite a ways, maybe 3 hours. So, I
Yeah,
mean,
the other thing I'm noticing is that it's one of only two BSN programs.
Yes.
There's 3 or 4 other ADN programs in the area. But I'd like to hear what the school has to say.
I'd like that. BRN moder, are you okay with that, Trisha?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, I think she's talking about the people, not public comment. She's talking about the
I'm talking about the school
themselves.
Oh, I'm sorry, Dolores. Yes.
So Eileen or Diane, are you available?
Hi, thank you. Yes, I can speak. I'm Diane.
Thanks so
I'm the
much.
Program director here at Westmont College. And yes, our request is for to go from 2 cohorts to 3 cohorts, and to go from 24 students a cohort to 36 eventually. We'll stagger that. And we have met with all of our clinical sites. We've met with the other schools. There's one ADN program, which is Santa Barbara City College, and then Channel Islands, which actually is in Camarillo, which is about an hour away from here. They do have a cohort of students, though, that does clinical in Santa Barbara. And our main college is Cottage. Our main hospital is Cottage Hospital. And so we don't have a consortium, but we meet with, Channel Islands, Santa Barbara City College, and Westmont. We meet together before the semester starts and go through placements and everything like that. City College doesn't operate in the summer, so that kind of allows us some flexibility. And Cottage Hospital, you know, a little bit of reprieve maybe. After I submitted this too, I did get an email from Cottage Hospital. They met the CNO and the clinical education director that they could support the 60 additional students. We're going to be creative when we meet in March as far as like evening shifts, increasing the weekend shifts, that kind of stuff. So
I would like to commend and thank you for being collaborative with the other schools in your area. That's great. It's wonderful to hear.
Yeah, me too. That's always nice to hear. It makes it so much easier on us to
Yeah.
make these decisions. Thank you.
So I see your semesters, correct? Spring, fall, summer.
correct.
Okay. I mean, I would be willing to support this. The other committee members have any
I agree with you, Dolores.
We can go to public comment first before we make the motion, if you'd like.
I'm open either way.
Okay. BRN moderator, can you take us to public comment, please, before we make a motion on this?
We will be opening for public
Thank
comment
you.
now. Please refer to the screen share for members of the public to see how they should type in their request for comment. I've activated the question and answer feature. Members of the public can indicate that they would like to make a comment by typing into the question box, "I would like to make a comment." Please remember you will have 2 minutes to make your comments. I will not give reminders as time approaches. I do not want to interrupt you nor cause you to lose your train of thought. I will mute your microphone and inform you that your time has expired, and we'll move on to the next member of the public. I'll pause for a moment for members of the public to type in "I would like to make a comment."
And then just true to form, Xavier will be next, and that is Region 4. Xavier, Region 4.
Thank you, Lori.
Agenda item 8.6.9.
Committee Chair Dominguez, there are no public requests for comments on the WebEx. Do we have any public requests for comments in the Sacramento location?
We do not.
Thank you. Committee Chair Dominguez, would you like me to close this window?
Yes, please. Thank you. I would like to make a motion to recommend acceptance of the substantive changes requested by the approved program and approve the enrollment increase for Westmont College Baccalaureate Degree Nursing Program with an enrollment pattern of 36 students 3 times a year for an annual enrollment of 108, which is an increase of 60 students annually by adding the summer cohort. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you,
Right.
Tricia.
Yeah.
Sorry?
Yes, Tricia.
Okay, I thought I heard somebody else other than Tricia. Okay. I'd like to take it to a roll call. Jovita Dominguez votes yes. Dolores Trujillo?
Dolores Trujillo votes yes.
Tricia Wynn? Wynn says yes, I believe.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
We are
Agenda-
asking to move to Xavier College next, but I did want to do kind of a time check for everybody on the committee. It is just after noon. And I just wanted to make sure that we're aware of that for staff on whether or not they want to take a lunch, et cetera. So we do have 5 schools remaining on today's agenda. We do have Xavier, Grossmont, Unitech, Samuel Merritt, and Gurnick. We have completed 5 schools so far.
We're
So
halfway
half of
through
the
it.
schools are done. So I do want to let you guys know, just as a time check, and decide if you guys wanted to continue to go until 12:30 or 1 o'clock, just so that we can start planning.
I'm open for either 1 or 12:30. What do the other committee members?
Since we're halfway through, we could probably take a 30-minute lunch.
30 minutes would put
I
us at
know
about
your time.
12:30.
Yeah, I know your time, Jovita, is limited
what
in the
time today?
afternoon.
I think I'll be fine, whatever you guys want to do. Do you want to do maybe a couple more, goes to 12, whatever you guys want to do, I'm good. I'm already,
I think basically just break now for half an hour. We haven't had a break except for a 5 minute or 6 minute.
yeah.
So for this one, if we can do a break till 12:45, that would be an easy time to return to and ensure that we can get the full 30 minutes in for our staff.
Oh, you're okay with that, Tricia?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
Okay, we will return at 12:45 and we'll start off the agenda at 8.6.9 Xavier College.
Great.
Thank you.
Enjoy your lunch.
Okay.
Okay.
Thanks, everybody.
Dolores, was Jovita able to make it back now? When was her quit time? Do you know? Do you remember?
It was like around
Like 2, I think.
2:30. She
Okay.
said she'd have to leave like 2:25.
Okay. I think
she's logging off
logging
during the,
off
yeah, she's logging
completely.
off. Yeah, instead of just putting on mute and stopping her video, I think she's logging off.
Yeah, so if we can reach out and try to help
Yeah.
Jovita rejoin, that would be appreciated.
We
everybody
have
in the system
quorum
in that
right
area is
now,
okay?
don't we?
Yeah.
We do, and we could open up.
Yeah,
So
I mean,
if BRN staff can reach out to Jovita, then Dolores, if you want to open up and get
sure.
education, yep, and staff is reaching out, trying to get Jovita on.
All right,
Thank you, guys.
great. Do we need to do, I mean, Tricia and I are both on here. We're both committee members. I need to do a formalized roll call.
I don't think so, but I will let
Okay.
that be Rez's decision. And I can start with 8.6.9 whenever you're ready.
We're ready.
Jovita's back. Jovita's back.
Oh, good. Okay.
Sorry, I got kicked out again. But I guess I have to always rejoin. Thank you. So should we do roll call or?
No, we can just move on with Marianne
Perfect.
McCarthy. The three
All
of
right.
us are on here.
Marianne, take it away.
Hi, thanks. Jovita, you'll probably have to be on mute though, because there's a lot of background noise. Okay, so agenda item 8.6.9.
I'm sorry, I'm sorry, Marianne, just for the note takers, can we establish a quorum before we move on? We're coming back from break.
We do need a roll call. So
We
we
do
need
need
a roll call to establish quorum.
All right. I could do
I-
that.
I, Jovita
Go ahead,
Luna, am
Jovita.
present. Dolores Trujillo,
Dolores Trujillo is present.
Trisha Wynn,
Tricia is present.
EO Lori.
I'm here. I am going to ask if someone else can moderate the meeting so that Jovita can stay on mute as much as possible. She does have a lot of background.
Yeah.
So if Dolores or Trisha, if you guys can go forward and be the one that kind of navigates us through this meeting, we will allow Jovita to be present and chime in when possible, but I would have her muted as much as possible just because of the background noise.
Okay.
Okay,
So-
we have Reza to introduce now as well.
Yeah. So our board counsel, Reza.
This is Reza Pejuhesh, legal counsel.
Okay. Quorum has been established. Marianne McCarthy, can you move on?
Of course, of course. Agenda item 8.6.9, discussion and possible action regarding acceptance of a substantive change to an approved nursing program. This is Xavier College Associate Degree Nursing Program. Their information, starting with their AIS, can be found on page 139, followed by their growth information for Region 4 on page 140, followed by their executive summary that they submitted, which starts on page 141. Board moderator, if you could please elevate the presenters on the list for Xavier College. So Xavier College is in Stockton, California, in the San Joaquin County area of the Central Valley. Again, this is Region 4. Current enrollment pattern is 30 students once a year for an annual enrollment of 30 students. The enrollment request is to increase to 40 students once a year. The annual enrollment of 40 would increase by 10 annually. The representatives are here. Should you have any questions Thank you.
I've read the AIS and I'm in favor of the increase of 10, especially in this area. Trish, do you have anything to add?
No, I have read the request too, and it's a very modest increase in an area that seems can sustain it. The one question that I had was right now you have 30 students once a year, and you're asking for a very modest increase, but the number of, I'm not able to find it right this second, the number of full-time faculty you have seemed high for
For the
The
amount of
number of
students?
full-time faculty seemed high, like a lot or not enough?
Yeah, it seemed like a lot for 30 students a year.
Ooh, I like that.
That's definitely a problem we don't run into very often.
That's not a problem. Elvira, do you want to speak to that?
We do have more than sufficient number of faculty. And in fact, we can't use all of them. We try to rotate even the full-time faculty for the different classes and clinical. So we are more than capable of handling 10 more students.
Yeah, great. No, I'm very much in favor of this request.
Okay. I honestly don't have any questions. I mean, it's a modest increase. It's an increase in an area that could sustain that, and they have enough faculty.
Yes.
Are there any other questions or comments from the committee members before we move to a motion? No? All right, I would like to make the motion that we recommend acceptance of the substantive changes requested by an approved program and approve the enrollment increase for Xavier College Associate Degree Nursing Program with an enrollment pattern of now 40
students. per year.
students once a year for an annual enrollment of 40 students. And this is an increase of 10 students annually.
Yes.
We'll second that motion.
Thank you, Trish. BRN moderator, can you please open it up for public comment?
We will be opening for public comment now. Please refer to the screen share for members of the public to see how they should type in their request for comment. I've activated the question and answer feature. Members of the public can indicate that they would like to make a comment by typing into the question box, "I would like to make a comment." Please remember, you will have 2 minutes to make your comments. I will now give a reminder as your time approaches. I do not want to interrupt you nor cause you to lose your train of thought. I will mute your microphone and inform you that your time has expired, and we'll move on to the next member of the public. I'll pause for a moment for members of the public to type in, "I would like to make a comment."
As we wait for members to type in they'd like to make a comment, the next school on the agenda is Grossmont College from Region 10. Grossmont College, Region 10. Thank you.
Thank you.
Committee Chair Trujillo, there are no public requests for comments on the WebEx. Do we have any public requests for comments in the Sacramento location?
We do not.
Thank you. Committee Chair Trujillo, would you like me to close this window?
Yes, please. Thank you. So we would like to take it to a committee vote. We have a first and second on the floor. Dolores Trujillo votes yes. Jovita Dominguez
Jovita Dominguez, yes.
and Patricia Nguyen.
Nguyen, yes.
All right, thank you.
Okay, moving on to agenda item 8.6.8. This is discussion and possible action regarding acceptance of a substantive change to an approved program. This is Grossmont College Associate Degree Nursing Program, and they are asking for an enrollment increase. Information on this program can be found starting on page 132 of the packet. And again, that's the AIS, followed by the growth data information for Region 10, followed by their executive summary that they have written and submitted for materials. Board moderator, if you could please elevate the presenters on the list for Grossmont. So Grossmont College is located in El Cajon, Region 10, which is the southern border, San Diego, California. San Diego County, California. Their current enrollment is 40 students twice a year for an annual enrollment of 80 students. And they want to, they're requesting an additional 20 LVN to RN students once a year to make their full annual enrollment 100 students. The program representatives are available should you have any questions. Thank you.
I have just one question. I have just one question for Dr. McCarthy. Thank you for that. Again, this seems like a very modest increase. When I looked at the material on how many students we have approved recently for San Diego, it looks like in November we did a 70 student increase. I remember that conversation very well. It was Imperial College and they were going to ramp up. It wasn't going to be, 70 right away. And then in 2022, we did 40. Do you think that this Region 10 can sustain a modest increase as like the one proposed here and without kind of interrupting other people's clinical placements?
Yeah, so let me jump in for you, Mary Ann,
Thank
just to
you.
kind of explain San Diego a bit. So Grossmont College is in San Diego County. Imperial Valley, the one that you were referencing to, is on the complete other side of the mountain range, closer to Arizona. So Grossmont close to the beach, Imperial close to Arizona. So about 2 hours apart without traffic, actually. And so that ends up being just the distinction. San Diego is an impacted area. We've had several conversations about San Diego being impacted. Marcia First School of Nursing grew in San Diego in 2021. They also grew in 2019 when they assumed Brightwood College, and because that college closed. What has changed in this area is when Brightwood was on their teach out, well, not even a teach out, just a closure, and they moved and were absorbed at Glendale. And so then Marcia First did the teach out for them. A new school was approved in that area, and that was Brandman University. Brandman University came in. So as Brightwood closed, having 180 students, Brandman came in with 72. Then Marcia First, which assumed Brightwood's 180 students, continued to grow. And so that was kind of the conflict that we were dealing with in San Diego County up until and through, 2021. Now, in 2022, San Diego State did increase by 40 students annually, but that was for their campus in Imperial, again, 2 hours away, and that was their BSN program. What changed to allow for this request to come forward and be considered is that Brandman University, which became UMass, closed. So the 72 students that they were approved for annually no longer are utilized in this area by this school. They have completed their teach out and they are no longer offering a pre-licensure program in San Diego. So this increase is still less than the 72 that Brandman had happened to use. And when Marcia First increased, they increased by 45. So again, still keeping it about the same impact. I don't believe that they would be able to accommodate much more in this area other than this increase because of the increases done to Marcia First School of Nursing, but also to understand in this area, they have a really good consortium. It is kind of going through some changes right now, but with that consortium, what's the positive thing in this area is even though the consortium has gone through changes, the hospital sites and clinical sites in this area have made a concerted effort to only do approvals utilizing the consortium and not to offer approvals outside of the consortium. So there is very good data in that location. We're just allowing them for them to transition to the new providers of the consortium.
So I know there was a period where we were very short in supply for peds and OB rotations. And I know there was a point where Rady Children's Hospital had stepped up to take
that was for Brandman. That was UMass for Brandman, yes. And so that's a very common thing, and I just want to pause really quick. I know that we're having some technical issues. Board moderator, were you trying to interrupt?
Yes, Sacramento has lost audio. Can we pause for a second?
Sure.
Sorry. Okay, they're back now. Okay, that was
Okay,
clear.
they're back. Perfect. Okay. So Brandman University, so that's this whole backstory, and there's a lot to kind of unpack here. So when Brightwood closed, Brandman University assumed that they could assume the clinical rotations that Brightwood had, because the assumption was, when the board approved it, that Brightwood was going to be covered by Marcia First School of Nursing, which was Glendale Career College at that point, and that they would teach out. So Brandman thought that they could take the Brightwood clinicals. That did not happen. And when Marcia First continued in the clinicals and then grew in the clinicals, Brandman was never able to acquire new clinical rotations to accommodate their PEDS and OB. And it made it very difficult for them to complete, which is a resource issue was brought up that compiled onto many other things. They decided to not offer that program in San Diego. This is an established school that already has these clinical sites that are not adding more clinical sites, so they will not be facing that same issue. And so their PED site, their OB sites are secured.
Thank you, Lori.
Thank you.
If the committee members don't have any other questions, maybe we can go out, see if there's anybody in public comment.
Yes, that's a good idea.
Okay, BRN moderator, can you please open us up for public comment?
We will be opening for public comment now. Please refer to the screen share for members of the public to see how they should type in their request for comment. I've activated the question and answer feature. Members of the public can indicate that they would like to make a comment by typing into the question box, "I would like to make a comment." Please remember, you will have 2 minutes to make your comments. I would like to give a reminder as your time approaches. I do not want to interrupt you nor cause you to lose your train of thought. I will mute your microphone and inform you that your time has expired, and we'll move on to the next member of the public. I'll pause for a moment for members of the public to type in, "I would like to make a comment."
And as they type in, the next school that will be heard is Unitech from Region 3. Unitech, Region 3.
Committee Chair Trujillo, there are no public requests for comments on the WebEx. Do we have any public requests for comments in the Sacramento location?
We do not.
Thank you. Committee Chair Trujillo, would you like me to close this window?
Yes, thank you. All right, are there any other comments or questions? I'm inclined to approve this.
So real quick, prior to you approve, just so we can have it on record, to address one of the other issues that you brought up was the impact into our specialty areas, right?
Yes.
PEDS, OB, et cetera. With the 20 LVN to RN students, that I'm sure is very strategic because they typically get credit for OB and PEDS, and they will not be utilizing any additional OB and PEDS slots for these students to come in. Their primary concentration is med-surg, Jerry, and psych mental health.
Thank you, Lori. Trish and Jovita, do you have any other questions or?
No, I'm supportive of this motion.
Jovita?
I support also.
Okay, let's do the motion. I would like to make a motion that we recommend acceptance of the substantive changes requested by an approved program and approve the enrollment increase for Grossmont College Associate Degree Nursing Program with an enrollment pattern of 20 LVN to RN students once a year for an annual enrollment of 100 students, which is an increase of 20 students annually.
I second that motion.
Great. Okay, so we've gone out to public comment already. Let's take it to a vote. Dolores Trujillo votes yes. Jovita Dominguez?
Jovita Dominguez, yes.
And Patricia Nguyen?
Nguyen, yes.
All right, thank you. Marianne, Unitech College.
Sorry, I was on mute. Just going right along. So 8.6.5, discussion and possible action regarding acceptance of a substantive change to an approved program. This is Unitech College Baccalaureate Degree Nursing Program, their Concord campus, requesting an enrollment increase. Information on this program can be found starting on page 103 with their AIS, followed by the growth data information for Region 3, followed by their executive summary that they submitted to the committee. Board moderator, if you could please elevate the presenters on the list for Unitech. Unitech is requesting an enrollment increase on their Concord campus. This is in Contra Costa County, which is Region 3. The program is proposing an additional cohort of 40 BSN students per year, bringing the total annual enrollment from 120 to 160, with an enrollment pattern of 40 students 3 times a year. So like they did with their Fremont campus, they would like to add a cohort, so an extra 40 students in the rotation. The representatives are here for any questions that you might have. Thank you.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm on the fence about this. You've already put up 3 new campuses. You had at least 4 enrollment increases granted in your other schools. This area, what do we have going on in this area, Lori? This is the Contra Costa County.
There is. I think there are a lot of program directors in public comment. I'm not sure if they're going to use this time to speak up or if they're just kind of listening in on this. There was a large amount of communication talking about the area that is requested about not necessarily clinical impaction, but that the new grads are not finding jobs in that location. And so again, that might come up in public comment, it might not. That is something that we are aware that we're hearing about that, but it's more of a job placement issue for new grads than it is for impaction. Now, I'm not saying there's not impaction, we're just not hearing a lot of that. I went back and looked at our tables that were submitted today that were earlier approved as progress notes, progress report, sorry. That was my nursing sneaking in there. Talking about, we have a section that talks about faculty issues and clinical issues. And I didn't see a lot of that in this meeting, but that doesn't mean that it wasn't shared, previously. So always something to be concerned with. We do have CSU Sacramento that talked about some clinical concerns on page 41. We did have some College of the Desert talking about clinical concerns. They're not in the Greater San Diego, Sacramento area. Cal State University of Sacramento obviously is. Mission College reported some issues with OB clinical rotations, etc. But it was a smaller section in our clinical concerns reported from programs this time. But again, these are snapshots that occur every 3 months as they're reported to the board.
Yeah, I'm receiving a lot of communication from students, and I'm hearing about students coming out of the program not being able to find jobs. And again, having to go out of state to get that experience they need to come back in and find a job and support their families, sometimes uprooting their families to go out of state in order for them to get this experience. I do have a concern about an extra, and it's not a huge amount, but it is an increase of 40 students in light of the enrollment increases that they had granted previously, plus the addition of 3 new campuses.
In one of the emails that we were copied on as part of the BRN and in some communication, it said, we're in the Bay Area and had several students not be able to get RN jobs in this area.
Yes.
There are very limited openings for new grads. All the hospitals and the other facilities had RNs with experiences. I have heard that several hospitals even canceled their new grad programs. Others have only 10 spots available. We have a minimum of 10 schools in our area graduating up to a minimum of 400 students, probably more like 600 grads a year. And there are not that many opportunities. That was shared by a school in that area. And so, we have not been able to confirm those. So that is just reports that we are hearing, but we do want you guys to be aware of that kind of discussion that was happening around the beginning of December, so not long ago.
Madam Chair, would you like me to share our placement numbers?
Before turning it over to you, Mr. Yosef, this is the board council res. I just wanted to make a quick comment, brief interjection here. The discussion about job availability and all that is useful information for the committee, but I just want to remind the committee that it's not really one of the factors that is listed in statute that applies to an enrollment increase decision. You do have a limited set of factors there. So job placement discussion don't creep into your decision making. Thanks.
Sure.
Unless there's any other discussion from the committee, I think we can go ahead and turn it over to Mr. Yosef.
Yeah, on the
Maybe just one comment, and maybe the witness will comment on this. So in this region, in the last 6 years, we have approved 577 new students through 4 enrollment increases and 2 new campuses. And we've also approved feasibility studies for almost 300 students. So, I mean, we really seem to be creeping up pretty dramatically. And I do kind of worry about how fast we may be just flooding this region with students. So I'd like maybe the witness to address that issue.
Sure. Thank you, Madam Chair and committee members, for giving me the opportunity to speak. I would like to share the placement numbers, although legal counsel advised they're not a factor, but we are required by accreditation to submit our placement annually. And I want to say in 2023, our placement numbers were 100%. 2024 is 88.79%. And up to year to date, we're sitting at 91% placement. So we are required after the students graduate to help them with the interviews, with the resume writing, and schedule for them appointment with hiring managers to place them and confirm placement and submit to our accrediting agencies. In this case, it's ACCSC California. So that's one factor to consider, is the job placement. The second factor I want to consider is that since the change in the hours, the clinical hours required, we revised our curriculum and we took down the clinical from 768 to 519. So we actually lowered the number of clinical hours needed by 249 hours per students. So if you multiply that by the number of students we have at Concord campus, we open actually space for more than 40 students. So the placement, the clinical availability for the student is been, we consider that within the curriculum. In addition to that, we added 67 clinical affiliation agreement since the program started in Concord in 2020. We have also, part of our effort for this enrollment, we have collaborated and reached out to all the schools within 50 miles and actually beyond 50 miles, because some of the students that come to us, they come far beyond 50 miles and probably they're going to work in that area. So we reached out to all these schools. We collaborated with them. We presented our increase request with the health impact last meeting. And we have done our due diligence to make sure that we're not going to impact the students who are currently in classes. And we collaborated with schools that are on the agenda today that they're asking to be in our region, asking for additional enrollment, like Samuel Merritt and Gurnick and other colleagues. We reached out to them. I met with some of them in person. Joellen is on the call. She can provide you with details about, and Dean Janet also on the call. She can provide you with details about those meetings and conversations. So we ask for one cohort of 40, and usually we start 3 times a year. We will be starting 4 times a year. We have a huge demand in our community, especially this campus has a huge vocational nursing program. So most of our students, I would say 75% of our BSN students are our VN graduates who come back to us for their RN, and we offer them a scholarship to help them become RNs. So we understand, we review the region, we look at the all additional cohort added, and we make sure that we do not impact, or the impact could be minimal, but as long as we are collaborating with our colleagues, we can work with them to navigate how can we add this 40 students without impacting or delaying the other students' progress. So I want to say by lowering the number of hours, like the PEDS and OB from 48 to 32, the mental health from 96 to 32, and then of course the med-surg, that made a huge difference in our ability and capacity to teach. Therefore, we're asking for this one cohort of 40 in order for us to, to meet the demand. Now, the region is very condensed, and you can see that traveling 30 miles could take an hour and a half to 2 in that region. Therefore, students like to be within their community and not to drive too far. So we have a campus in Fremont, but campus in Concord, but we get students from totally different area around the campuses. And I'm ready to answer any further questions.
Thank you for that description. That was helpful.
Absolutely.
Just to interject again really quick, just on the cutting down of clinical hours, opening up clinical sites. Although that is very helpful, and we definitely appreciate that, I want to make sure that the board has a full understanding of what that means. If it was asking for an increase to their same enrollment pattern, so say they enroll twice a year and they're asking to increase that enrollment in those twice a year, those would be the same clinical groups, the same clinical cohorts, the same clinical kind of effect, right? But they're asking for an additional entry into the program. So that is additional clinical sites, groups, within their clinical sites, right? So that is not a net zero impact. And so I just want the board to make sure that they just have that awareness of that. If they were to do, say their current enrollment is 20 students twice a year, and they decrease their hours and now they're asking for 40 students twice a year, that could potentially be a net zero if they brought their clinical hours down from having 1,000 clinical hours to 500 clinical hours, right? They could essentially double it and not have an impact. With this going from 2 times a year to 3 times a year, even though they brought their numbers down, which is commendable, and we appreciate that. Thank you. It does open up clinical placements. It doesn't make that these new group of students will not have an impact, right? So just have that into consideration.
Thank you. I would like to hear what public comment has to say, if there's anybody out in public comment. thoughts, Tricia or Jovita?
Yes, absolutely. I'd like to hear from the public on this one. Thank
Yeah.
you.
I'm open to it also.
All right, BRN moderator, can you please open us up for public comment?
We will be opening for public comment now. Please refer to the screen share for members of the public to see how they should type in their request for comment. I've activated the question and answer feature. Members of the public can indicate that they would like to make a comment by typing into the question box, "I would like to make a comment." Please remember, you will have 2 minutes to make your comments. I will not give a reminder as your time approaches. I do not want to interrupt you nor cause you to lose your train of thought. I will mute your microphone and inform you that your time has expired, and we'll move on to the next member of the public. I'll pause for a moment for members of the public to type in, "I would like to make a comment." Committee Chair Trujillo, there are no public requests for comments on the WebEx, but we do have a comment in the Sacramento location. 1 second, please.
Thank you.
Yes, I'm Robin Nelson, and I want to thank Dr. Youssef for the excellent description of all the positives about Unitech College. And I wanted to leave the committee members with one thing particular. He mentioned about the number of LVNs that they have in that area who desire to go on. And this is a Bachelor of Science degree program. It's very reasonable in cost for a private institution. And obviously having, baccalaureate prepared nurses, we have evidence that supports how that is so important to the quality of patient care. And so I encourage you to look favorably on their request. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment.
Madam Chair, and I'm Joellen. May I just address our communication and collaboration with everyone briefly? I think the public comment server, we were so grateful. We're part of consortium, and as Loretta Melby has stated, collaboration is important. And I wanted to share that I appreciated Ms. Nelson's comment because Unitech is known in the industry by being exceptionally supportive and collaborative. We are in all of the consortiums. We reached out to 28 schools, even in our borders, and 14 to 16 of them said no concerns. 2 of them were very, very collaborative, saying, hey, please keep doing what you're doing. And we had 6 further conversations, and we met with all 6 of them. We met all of them. And we have one that we're continually collaborating, giving data as to how we're going to do this. In addition, we did add 66 new clinical facilities that we know are not impacting other schools. We're all at these big facilities. Even one of our, Kaiser Dignity Center, even one of them is working with all 6 of our schools for that workforce that you just mentioned, March 18th and 19th, that they're working with to ensure that they are hiring our students and other students in this area. I love working in the consortiums and collaboration, and the fact is that we will continue collaborating with our sites. As Dean Melby said, we call them. And in the last 2 conversations where there was further comment, I even gave my personal cell to all of them to say, call me at any time. If you hear of any displacement or impact, both now and the future, and we will get together with the facility and ensure that that is not going to be happening. So I hope that assures this team, as well as all of our collaborating consortiums, that we are here to work together for the profession and continue that brand of being known in the industry, as Ms. Robbins said, as supportive, collaborative, and very transparent to our communications.
Thank you very much for that. I appreciate that effort.
Thank you.
Committee Chair Trujillo, there are no other public requests for comments at the Sacramento location. Would you like me to close this window?
Yes, thank you. I appreciate the addition in your AIS of the different schools that you've attempted to collaborate with. You have at least 10 that you're still awaiting a response.
We did reach out about 4 different times and call, and they are part of the consortium.
Yeah.
And I gave them my personal cell, Ms. Dolores.
Yeah, I caught that.
Yeah, and then just so that our board committee members know, sorry, is we have no requirement that says you must reach out to 100% and you must have
Yeah.
100% response rate. So the reach outs that they did and that they demonstrate was commendable. They did get a great response. They are showing collaboration. And consortiums are key, especially in this area, to help coordinate all the schools and the clinical request.
Any questions or comments from committee members?
Dolores, I mean, I have the same concerns you have, but I worry about this region because we have approved a lot of increase over the last several years and a lot of feasibility studies. So there's opportunity for even more growth. But I do think that that Unitech has done everything right. They've reached out, they're working collaboratively, they're adjusting their, work requirements, and they're doing, I think they're acting like good corporate citizens when they do this work. And so for that reason, I'm probably supportive of this increase.
Ovita?
Would we want to consider maybe not 40 students, but something adequate?
I don't know that they could because they're asking for a cohort, and their cohorts are 40, correct?
That is
40
correct.
apiece. Yeah.
The way
So,
the way we create our calendars, the clinical groups, the simulation and the VR, all that works with the 40 progressing together. And they're usually a cohort of 40. So it's going to be hard.
Basically, we grant the 40 or don't grant the 40. I'm willing to do the 40. Keeping in mind, again, that this particular school has had three new campuses.
That's correct.
And has had several enrollment increases granted with their other campuses. So I appreciate how prudent they were in working with the other schools and submitting that information.
And our annual pass rate, it's been up and going up. It's 88% the last annual. So we focus not on quantity, but quality, sorry. So make sure we support our students, and graduation rate is great, placement rate, and we keep our promise to our students.
Just out of curiosity, do you track your students when they go out into the job market?
We do, because we have a department, career service, that's their job, is to track students, to communicate with the hiring manager, and to even collect, document students' placement, 30 days, 90 days. But we also do surveys to our employers. And during the PAC meeting, we meet with the employers to talk about the quality of our graduates. So we continue that cycle of continuous improvements.
Okay, without going too far into the job market, I was just curious to know if you kept track of them.
Sure.
So, I mean, I'm willing to recommend this.
You want to make that motion?
Sure.
Thank you.
So, I would like to recommend acceptance of the substantive changes requested by an approved program and approve the enrollment increase for Unitech College Baccalaureate Degree Nursing Program, Concord Campus, with an enrollment pattern of 40 students, 3 times a year for an annual enrollment of 160 students. This is an increase of 40 students annually.
I second that motion.
Thank you, Tricia. Since we've gone out to public comment, we can take it to a vote. Dolores Trujillo votes yes. Jovita Dominguez
Vita Dominguez, yes.
and Patricia Nguyen.
Win, yes.
Thank you. And thank you for answering our questions.
Thank you. Thank you,
Thank you
Madam
so
Chair.
much, Madam Chair and the board members.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to move back to 8.6.3, which is discussion and possible action regarding acceptance of substantive change for an approved program. This is Samuel Merritt University. It's their entry-level master's and their baccalaureate degree nursing program. Both programs are asking for an enrollment increase. This increase is going to be on 4 programs over 3 campuses. So bear with me because it will be a little more complicated. Information about this program can be found starting on page 83. And board moderator, if you could elevate the presenters for Samuel Merritt. So 83 is their AIS, followed by the regional data that that we're looking at, which is in Region 10, and then their executive summary, which they submit, and all programs do. So Samuel Merritt's baccalaureate and entry-level master's degree programs are on 4 campuses in 4 cities. They're in Oakland, they're in Sacramento, they're in San Francisco Peninsula, and they're in Fresno. The program is asking for an enrollment increase in 4 programs on 3 campuses. And I don't know why I said 10. I apologize. It's regions 1 and 3 because they're up north. Please see their current enrollments and their requests for increases on page 83 and 84 of your packet. So first you're going to see their current enrollment, and we put it on here in the same order so you could see their current pattern for their entry-level masters at Oakland and Sacramento, and then their BSN at Oakland, and then their BSN or their accelerated BSN in Oakland and the San Francisco Peninsula. And then right below that, you're going to see what they're requesting at their campuses. So the ELM at the Sacramento campus wants to an increase of 24 students once per year in the fall, 72 students fall and 48 students in the spring, for their annual enrollment from 96 to 120 for that program. Then they want the BSN program at the Sacramento campus to increase by 48 students, adding a summer enrollment. So they want to do 48 students 3 times a year. So this will increase that enrollment from 96 to 144. And then the BSN in Oakland is requesting an increase of 24 students. This is 76 students twice a year for an annual enrollment increase from 128 to 152. And then you'll see the BSN at Oakland is increasing from 48 to 96. And I tried to put totals in here for you so you could see what the totals are for each. For Sacramento would be a total increase of 72 students, and the total for Oakland would be an increase of 72 students.
So you're dealing with 2 different regions here, and so that's why they broke them down into the sections. So when you're looking at the one region, that's why Sacramento, for even though it's 2 tracks that we're asking for enrollment increase for, that is an impact of 72 to that region. And then they're also asking for an increase to 2 tracks below, both BSN and ABSN, but that's a 72 students to the Oakland, so that's a separate region. So you may consider looking at these by the region request. So address the Sacramento campus location with their various tracks, and then address the Oakland campus location and their various tracks so that you can help kind of keep those separated because it's a different region and different community impact.
Okay. So total, let's look at Sacramento. So total is 72 overall increase.
Correct.
Okay. Do we have the program
Yeah,
elevated? Okay.
of course. Stephen, are you on?
I am here. I'm here to answer your questions and apologize in
Fantastic.
advance how complicated this can get with all the different numbers and our multiple campuses, but
Yeah, so
absolutely.
talk to us about the Sacramento increase and enrollment patterns, please.
What specifically, I absolutely can answer any of your questions other than what we have on the screen here is that in Sacramento, this would be for two different programs. One is our entry-level program, and then the other is our accelerated program, or ABSN, not to be confused with the BSN, which is in Oakland. We'll talk about that in a bit.
Yeah.
So they're both BSN programs. One's a traditional program and one's an accelerated program. So that would be the increase for ELMS, which is the entry level of program. And what else would you want to know about Sacramento other than, I'm sure you'll ask this, I'll just kind of put this out front, is that we too, like Dean Sutterfield had just said, and Provost Abdel, is that we too are very collaborative, cooperative. We're really active in the different consortiums. Now there are two different consortiums, one that covers the Sacramento area, one that covers the Oakland Greater Bay Area. And that we've reached out to all of the different schools, and that we have, that's all in the report. You'll see that, and who we reached out to and what everybody said. Were all really good responses from folks. So what else?
So,
specifically?
sorry, just break it down for me. Entry level right now, what I'm seeing is you're doing 48 students twice a year right now?
In Sacramento.
Your current enrollment?
Yeah.
48 twice a year. Is that correct?
Not twice a year. No, it's an increase of 24 students once a year in the fall. For a total increase of 24, make it 96, from 72 to 96.
Okay. And your accelerated program?
So this is an additional cohort, just like we had mentioned with the, you all had discussed with the last school. This is a cohorted model, so it'd be an additional cohort of 48 students. We do clinical groups of 8, as most schools do. So we always do it on a number of 8. So it's an additional cohort. And the ABSN program is, again, distinctly different than a traditional BSN program. I apologize if you already know this, but maybe not everyone does, is that they're 5-week terms. So we don't always follow spring, summer, fall. Of course, they start within one of those semesters, but it's a 5-week term. So it's an additional cohort of 48. And I also have on the call my Associate Dean for Academics, Dr. Ward Sullivan, and our Provost, Dr. Clarkson, who can also, and Dr. Ward Sullivan can also talk about the numbers if we have further questions.
Yes, I have some questions about the numbers.
Go ahead. I have a hunch you probably have the same questions as I do.
Yeah, a lot of the questions I have is, let's just take Sacramento for a moment. So in the last 6 years, we've approved 613 new students. So that's a lot in a region that that has a lot of programs and has a lot of things going on. In May and in August, we actually deferred on one school who was asking for 135 students because we felt like the area was too crowded. So, I mean, just from a fairness perspective, it's kind of, we've told the school, this area is too crowded, we can't keep approving new students. And then we get a request for new students. And, so I'm trying to figure out, how do we do this fairly?
Yeah, absolutely. And I understand that. I think I won't talk about the details of the other school, but what I can say for Samuel Merritt University is that we have reached out. We certainly have the clinical placements. We have the clinical facility agreements. We also have a new clinical site, which I know that person is logged into the meeting and would like to speak during public comment, that will provide all of the Med-Surg clinicals. And I mean, can provide all of our Med-Surg 1 and Med-Surg 2 clinicals for all of these students in both Oakland and Sacramento. And so that, and it's not displacing other schools. This would be unique to that facility, which is on 4 different campuses. So we have the clinical placements, we have the faculty, we have 30 additional faculty that we're hiring. We've already put that in our 2025 budget. That's been approved. We would hire new faculty. We have the clinical placements. We have the resources. Samuel Merritt's been around a long, long time. But I will point out, we've not had an enrollment increase in these 2 regions ever, except, I'll say one exception, when Holy Names closed and we absorbed those 15 students so that they could finish their education. We've never had. And we've had these programs, some of these for over 30 to 40 years. Samuel Merritt's been around 115 years, starting as a hospital-based diploma program. So we are well aware of the need for collaboration and for cooperation with clinical partners. We have extremely strong relationships with not only the big players, Sutter and Kaiser and all of the large hospital systems in Northern California, but many, many, many community resources and community partners for all of the other rotations other than med-surg, mental health, and geriatrics.
Thank you very much for that explanation.
Yeah, I think that sets us apart.
So each of your cohorts are 48 students. Am I reading that correctly?
For ABSN, it's 48. For the Elms, it would be 24.
Okay.
And for BSN Oakland, 24.
All right. I do have a lot of concern over this increase, especially since in the Sacramento area, we've had to really look closely at that growth and actually had to turn a school down. So I would be more inclined to hear from public comment if there's anybody out there. Can we check the area moderator?
We will be opening for public comment now. Please refer to the screen share for members of the public to type in their request for comment. I've activated the question and answer feature. Members of the public can indicate that they would like to make a comment by typing into the question box, "I would like to make a comment." Please remember, you will have 2 minutes to make your comments. I will not give a reminder as your time approaches. I do not want to interrupt you nor cause you to lose your train of thought. I will mute your microphone and inform you that your time has expired, and we'll move on to the next member of the public. I'll pause for a moment for members of the public to type in, "I would like to make a comment." Calvin Groneweg would like to make a comment. 1 second, please. Sorry, Calvin.
As you're getting Calvin off mute, just let you guys know that Gurnick will be the final agenda item for ELC. That is next. And they too are also Region 3. The same as Samuel Merritt. Samuel Merritt's Region 3 and Region 1 for their request, and Gurnick is Region 3.
Calvin, go ahead. Sorry.
Apologize. You ready for comments now?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Hi, and good afternoon. I'm Calvin Grenowig, Vice President, Risk Management and Clinical Services for Sequoia Living. We have 4 CCRCs, so full continuing care campuses in Northern California. We handle independent, assisted, memory care, and skilled nursing. We also have at all of our sites a clinic, very similar to a doctor's office that residents can come down and go to. We can easily accommodate Med-Surg 1 and 2 staff, and I've been working with Samuel Merritt College on that idea. And so I don't see any problems handling a number of students. Each of our campuses have 350 residents. Our one campus has 250, but the other 3 have a capacity of 350. In addition to all of the various levels of care we also have a very large population of dementia, memory care, cognitively inclined residents. And honestly, since COVID, we have seen the mental health crisis in seniors escalate exponentially. So again, it gives our students, or gives students the opportunity to help residents with their mental health needs. So I am in favor of it. I happen to be a graduate from Samuel Merritt School of Nursing many years ago. And again, my goal is to work with the college to try to get more people involved with geriatrics.
Thank you for your comment. Christine Smart would like to make a comment. 1 second, please.
On behalf of the faculty of the Sacramento State Nursing Program, I am registering an objection to the Region 1 enrollment increase requested for Samuel Merritt University. The request is for an additional 72 students, and we believe the need and infrastructure, both clinical sites and faculty, does not exist in Sacramento. Region 1 is not a nursing shortage area. Samuel Merritt cites the number of program applications as demonstrating need, but it is well known that students apply to multiple programs, therefore applications do not equal number of students. Recently, HCAI has identified the target ratio for Sacramento to 943, and the current ratio is 1080.1, which is above target. USF, that collects data for the BRN, says substantial shortages are projected for the San Francisco, Central Valley, and Central Coast regions, while surpluses may emerge in the Sacramento and Los Angeles areas. Clinical sites are at a premium. While we appreciate that Samuel Merritt is considering evenings and weekends, recent mapping of clinical use at the regional consortium meeting demonstrates that these shifts are already being used. In May 2024, North State was approved for 90 students annually, and in November 2024, the University of the Pacific was approved for an enrollment increase of 40 students. It is unclear where these students will be placed given recent mapping, let alone the additional 72 requested by Samuel Merritt. Our clinical placements have been getting approved for smaller sized groups of students than ever before, and we have also had historical placements denied due to new grad residency programs, as further evidenced as recently as January 16th this year. We received a plea from another area school for any clinical rotation slots currently assigned but not anticipated to be utilized. The final point is the faculty shortage. Per the request by Samuel Merritt, they have funding to hire 30 new full-time faculty positions. A common topic at consortium meetings is the faculty shortage. The University of California, Davis was awarded a large grant to increase the number of nursing faculty because of this shortage. In summary, Sacramento is not a new grad RN shortage area and does not have the infrastructure to support an enrollment increase from any school at this time. Thank you for considering these points in your decision.
Thank you for your comment. Committee Chair Trujillo, there are no more public requests for comments on the WebEx. We have no public requests for comments in our Sacramento location. Would you like me to close this window?
Sure. I am inclined to move towards denying the Sacramento increase, but I'm willing to hear comment from other committee members on this. Your thoughts?
Can I provide further comment as well as the folks who are here with me from Samuel Merritt, if that's okay?
Well, I'd like to hear from, it's up to my other two committee members.
Okay. Thank you.
If they would like to hear that or they'd like to offer their comments.
Thank you.
These decisions are so incredibly tough, but we did turn down another request just a couple of months ago because we felt like Sacramento was too crowded. And I mean, I don't know how we could rationalize, allowing an increase for another school just a few months later.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I'm coming from. Oakland, I think, is a slightly different request because we have not heard the same complaints in Oakland that we have heard for really about 6 months now. in Sacramento. So that's kind of where I'm coming from. And of course, I would appreciate hearing the thoughts of Dr. McCarthy and EO Melby.
Thank you. So one of the things I do want to point out when you were referring to the other school that was denied, they were asking for a brand new site, not growing their current site. So it would have been a brand new program coming into the area, setting up brand new clinical facilities, setting up brand new relationships, et cetera. So Samuel Merritt has these current clinical partnerships, have an established school. The other difference is the other School of Nursing was asking for 135 students annually. This request is not for 135. And so that is something that can be considered as well. What I think I would like to explore more is the new clinical agreement that you mentioned,
The med-surg.
that said you can accommodate all med-surg for both Sacramento and Oakland. That's a new concept that hasn't been brought forward to our board yet. So I would love to learn more about that, especially when you said this med-surg clinical placement that could accommodate from fundamentals to advanced med-surg and everything in between, and how that would not affect any other schools in that location.
I could respond to that.
Okay.
That's okay. And that was what, and if that was a public comment from Calvin, and that he described 4 different facilities that have nearly 1,300 beds. Okay, 1,300 beds.
Are you talking about the gentleman that just spoke regarding the geriatric?
Yes, yes. So that's Med-Surg 1, Med-Surg 2, Psych Mental Health could accommodate every one of those students. Now, I'm not saying we're going to send every one of our students there, because we have a very robust list of clinical partners, as Lori just described, in the Sacramento area. We've been there a long time and we have great relationships with those schools. So we would not be displacing other schools. We have the clinical placements, the more than adequate clinical placements. And just to respond to a comment that was made earlier about faculty shortage, yes, we're aware of faculty shortage, but we have been able to attract and retain good quality faculty for many reasons. One is just our culture. People like to teach for us and people like to stay with us. So are we concerned about hiring 30 new faculty? Of course. I'm not overly concerned by it. I'm being really honest with you. We've been able to fill our faculty roles quickly with multiple candidates, highly qualified candidates. So I'm not worried about that. This does, I think, Ms. Wynn, address, how can we rationalize it when you've had another school just based on those things alone. We have the additional clinical partnerships, brand new ones, new partners, existing partners, robust faculty hiring plan. We have all of the resources, and we've been in the community. And our, I know it was discussed earlier, our placement rates range from 95 to 100% placement hiring of our new grads. And when we meet with our clinical agencies and in our meetings with them, many will tell us they prefer to hire semi-merit grads. They're well prepared, they come out professional, we've been around a long time. So we don't have a problem with our students getting jobs once they graduate.
So you mentioned the med-surg openings that you have guaranteed. The gentleman that just spoke on public comment, wasn't that more of a nursing home type or a geriatric type situation?
It ranges from independent living all the way to highly skilled nursing. And so the medical needs for those individuals easily, and I'm saying that's like we're going to put every single rotation there, but they easily fulfill the course objectives, the course learning objectives, the CLOs for our med-surg courses. They're wonderful learning opportunities for students, absolutely wonderful, especially when you consider the growing population, or the aging population, that we have to prepare students to be able to work in the geriatric area. But it's also just great places to learn med-surg, patient assessments, patient interviews, medication administration, you name it. I'm old school too. I went to nursing school many, many years ago, a hospital-based diploma program, and we did almost all of our med-surg rotations in skilled nursing and those types of facilities, and you learn a lot. So I think they're underutilized. If we're going to meet the growing need for nursing, we have to stop looking at that traditional med-surg inpatient hospital experience, especially when you consider, I'm ballparking it, I don't have the exact figures prepared to share with you today, but I think it's about 50% of nurses aren't working inpatient when they graduate anyway within 1 year. There's a lot of outpatient demand and not just that traditional inpatient hospital experience.
A couple items to kind of tack onto that. You can look at their NCLEX pass rates. You can show that those are fairly stable. We do not have any requirements in our law that they do acute care hospital rotations. And in fact, Stephen did address what our law does state, and that is in 16 CCR 1427, that any clinical site used must be able to meet the clinical objectives as outlined in their college catalog and course descriptions. So that is correct where he is stating that. The public commenter did bring up some concerns. Had you met with that school that brought up those concerns, and what was kind of determined with that, Stephen?
Yes, that would be one of the schools. I think we had 2 or 3 total that did not support our enrollment increase, and that was one of them. But like, as you mentioned earlier, Lori, I don't think the goal is to have 100% support or 100% agreement. I wish we could, because we pride ourselves on collaboration. We really do pride ourselves on, well, let's sit at the table and see what we could do to make this work and to alleviate the fears that we're going to be taking away clinical experiences for your school. That's why we've brought in a new clinical partner with Sequoia Living. That's some that other schools aren't using. There are facilities that schools are not using. Okay, and I know we're also all kind of fighting for that same piece of the pie. But there are other facilities and other ways to meet the course learning objectives, the CLOs. We had extensive meetings with Calvin and shared with him the CLOs and said, can your facilities meet these CLOs? Absolutely. We went out and visited the facilities and toured the units to make sure that they could meet the CLOs. They absolutely can. So we've done our due diligence. We have the resources as required for the application. We have the plan. We have the facilities, we have the faculty, we have the students, we have good pass rates, we have good job placement rates. We've not had a single increase in these 2 regions ever.
One of the other things with the public commenter, I think that would be appropriate to address is the North State feasibility that was approved by our board. When North State came to us, they did state that they were building their own hospital. And so that is will be a brand new clinical location. We did have conversation among the committee and the board at that point, knowing that of course that's a huge undertaking and it won't happen right away. They are still in feasibility, and I believe, and Dr. Marianne McCarthy, you could correct me if I'm wrong, I believe they asked for an extension as well. So they have not gone forward with their self-study yet to enroll. They are still in the feasibility stage. So many things to take into consideration here. And I hear you guys, it's not an easy decision. It does sound like there has been an affirmative decision on the Oakland increase. And so I think right now it's just trying to figure out what to do with the Sacramento request. There are 2 requests to the Sacramento region. One is for the entry-level masters. And they are asking to add 24 students once a year in the fall. And then one is to the accelerated BSN, and that's 48 students, adding 1 to the summer enrollment. And so there are 2 requests within that Sacramento ask. You guys could decide to grant one, not the other. You could grant both. There's many things that can be done within that Sacramento ask. And so I just want to make sure that the board is taking all of those things into consideration.
Lori, I just want to add in that Cal State Northridge is up and running. I mean, not Cal State Northridge, California North State, the
Oh,
new
it is.
program has been through the process and they're up and running.
Thank you. I was remembering that incorrectly. Appreciate that.
No problem.
I am inclined to I'm inclined to deny the Sacramento campus increase.
I'm going to ask one more clarifying question. Are you denying and recommending that to the board to deny, or are you deferring so that there could be further discussion at the board?
I would like further discussion at the board.
Okay. So you're deferring the request for enrollment increase
For Sacramento.
For Sacramento for both ELM and ABSN. That will be discussed at the February board meeting.
Exactly.
so
It's
that we
just
can
next
get
month.
Full input
Yeah.
from all the board members. And then, so that has been addressed as, if that is your motion.
Well, I'd like to know what my other two committee members feel about that.
Comfortable with that, Dolores. We'd have to discuss it anyway. And, and we do have one more school in this region to hear still today. And I would be uncomfortable voting on Sacramento in this motion without looking at it, in
Exactly.
conjunction with that other one. So, but I am prepared to support the Oakland campus
I am too.
increases.
I am prepared to support Oakland.
Okay, so if you would make a motion to defer defer Samuel Merritt to Sacramento request to the board, then we would make then a second motion to address Oakland.
Okay. So for the first motion, I do not recommend acceptance of the substantive changes requested by.
You have to
I'm gonna
defer.
pause you.
You're going to
You would have to
defer
defer.
decision.
Yeah, so the motion is
Oh, I
not
see.
on, yeah, the
Okay.
motion's not up. So what you would just make is a simple statement,
It's-
and I could say it and you could say so moved. And so the motion on the table for the Sacramento request for their entry-level masters and their accelerated BSN program is to defer the decision on this request to the full board in February
So
for
moved.
consideration.
And I'll second that.
Thank you. So now your second motion would be, are you looking at approving the full ask for Oakland, or are you looking at altering any of the numbers?
Well, basically, it looks like a full cohort for the
is,
ADN
yes.
program, right?
Mhm.
And then an
Another full
increase.
cohort.
Yeah.
Yep.
So two full cohorts.
Sorry. So it would
on
be,
the motion, the last two then are the ones
Yep.
that are for Oakland. So you would
Yes.
be okay with the last two bullet points here for the Oakland campus. And
Now-
you'd be deferring the top two for Sacramento to the board.
so your motion at this point would be, you recommend acceptance of the substantive changes requested by the approved program and the enrollment, and approve the enrollment increase for Samuel Merritt's baccalaureate program and accelerated baccalaureate program to the Oakland campuses.
Yeah, I'd like to hear if there's anybody in public comment for Oakland. I realized we opened up public comment previously,
Mhm.
and I don't know if people thought that was just for Sacramento.
Okay. Yeah, we
I
can
would
go
like
back
to
out.
know if there's anybody in public comment that is looking at Oakland specifically.
So we have a first and second for the defer motion for Sacramento. We will go out to public comment before a motion is made for the Oakland request.
Correct.
Thank you.
Is that okay with you, Tricia?
Yes.
And Hope?
Yes.
All right. So, BRN moderator, can you open us up for public comment?
We will be opening for public comment now. Please refer to the screen share for members of the public to see how they should type in their request for comment. I've activated the question and answer feature. Members of the public can indicate they would like to make a comment by typing into the question box, "I would like to make a comment." Please remember you will have 2 minutes to make your comments. I will not give a reminder as your time approaches. I do not want to interrupt you nor cause you to lose your train of thought. I will mute your microphone and inform you that your time has expired, and we'll move on to the next member of the public. I'll pause for a moment for members of the public to type in, I would like to make a comment. Committee Chair Trujillo, there are no public requests for comments on the WebEx. I am told we have no public requests for comments in Sacramento. Would you like me to close this window?
Yes, thank you. So committee members, the Oakland campus.
Prepared to support.
Okay, I am too.
The full ask. Yeah.
Okay, all right. So I will have to take this apart, this motion. Recommend, okay. So the motion would be, and correct me if I don't say this right, I would recommend acceptance of the substantive changes requested by an approved program and approve the enrollment increase for Samuel Merritt University.
Baccalaureate program, not the
Baccalaureate.
master's. Yes.
Yeah, baccalaureate degree nursing program. BSN.
The bottom two. So for BSN program, their Oakland campus, you can start with that and read both of those through.
All right, thank you. Entry-level master's and baccalaureate degree nursing program. Okay, for the
So just the
BSN
baccalaureate,
program,
just the baccalaureate degree nursing program. We're taking
for
off
the BSN program at their
Correct.
Oakland campus, 76 students twice a year for an annual enrollment of 152 students. This is an increase of 24 students annually. And for the ABSN program, that's the accelerated program, correct?
But they're both baccalaureate degree. It's just the
Okay.
speed of them. So when we say baccalaureate, it's covering both of these.
Okay. At their Oakland campus, 48 students twice a year for an annual enrollment of 96 students, an increase of 48 students annually. Total Oakland campus enrollment increase of 72 students annually.
I will second that motion.
Thank you. We've already gone to public comment. Let's take a vote. Dolores Trujillo votes yes.
Real quick, hang on. Let's make sure that the committee members know that the vote is for both motions. One is the deferring of Sacramento and the approving of Oakland. So if you guys are okay to move forward with taking a roll call vote on both of them, then you can proceed.
I'm comfortable.
Yeah.
Okay.
I am too, Jovita.
All right. So Dolores Trujillo votes yes. Jovita?
Jovita Dominguez, yes.
Patricia Nguyen?
Nguyen, yes.
Thank you. All right, and thank you to Samuel Merritt for
Thank you.
answering
Thank you.
our questions. And we'll see you at board
Thank you.
next month. All right.
Moving on to agenda
yes.
item 8.7. And let me scroll to that. Thank you. Discussion and possible action regarding a new feasibility study for a new pre-licensure nursing program. It's actually a secondary site, but when they ask for a new secondary site, they have to go through the feasibility and initial self-study process. And this is for Gurnick Medical Arts Baccalaureate Degree in Nursing Program. Information on this program can be found starting on page 147 with the AIS, followed by the data for the area that they were going to be in, which again is Region 3, and then their executive summary giving their information to the committee and the board. Board moderator, if you could please elevate the presenters on the list from Gurnick. So Gurnick Baccalaureate Degree Nursing Program submitted a feasibility study for approval to offer a new program in a secondary site in San Jose, California. The San Jose campus is in Santa Clarita County. Both their Concord and their San Jose campuses are in this region. The Concord campus BSN program is approved for a total of 112 students a year with an enrollment of new students 3 times a year. So that's their current enrollment. They are requesting to enroll 28 LVN to BSN advanced placement students and 28 generic students in June of 25 and 28 generic BSN in September of 25 for an enrollment, annual enrollment of 84 students for the year. And if you follow along on page 147, this is in the AIS listed out for you. Maybe reading it will help too. And then starting in 2026, they are requesting to enroll 3 times a year. And again, they're splitting them out: 28 advanced placement, 28 generic in January and June and September, and 28 generic BSN. And then starting in 26 on, their total enrollment will be 112 students a year. The program's here to help us work through another kind of complex enrollment pattern.
Becoming more and more complex, aren't they?
Yeah.
The requests.
And then this is the same region as the Oakland one you guys just approved.
Yeah. Okay. So for 20.
So they're doing a teach in is what they're wanting to do. So they're wanting to start this in June of 2025.
Yeah.
They want to start out with the 56 students in June, and then in September enroll another 28 students. And then next year in 2026, which is what they want to keep as their established pattern, is to maintain the 56 students, 28 generic, 20 advanced placement, and then each May and September enroll 28 new generic. And then that is what they would want to continue moving forward. So you could make this an easier kind of motion if it's something that you wanted to grant, is that you could say we accept the proposed teach in for 2025 and approve them for their ongoing enrollment for 2026 and just address that one. And then that way it could work as well, but that's completely up to you. That's why there's 2 different enrollments, is because they wanted to teach this program in. It's going to be a new site. They want to start smaller and then go to their full enrollment in 2026 that they are requesting.
All right. Committee members, any comments, insight that or questions you'd like to ask the school?
Well, I sound like a broken record, but we have approved quite a few new student positions within this region recently. And I'm just wondering, how many new students can we add to a region before we kind of blow it up? So 577 new students in the last, 6 years. And then we just approved more today. And now we're coming in with another significant increase. So, I don't know who that question is to, but it is definitely a question that I grapple with every time this committee meets.
And that's accurate, because we did have, this is a feasibility, right? So this is a school coming into this location that hasn't been there previously. And once we approve the feasibility for these schools, they are essentially approved to move forward with budget, with finding locations, with hiring staff, with getting a program director, et cetera, et cetera. And so that is when their investment starts, because the board has pretty much said, you're good to go. Show us that you can now meet all of our rules and regulations before you enroll students. And so if you do look at the data on page 150, Medical Career College at a feasibility approved in August of 2024. Then is that on there twice? So it was deferred. So that was in November 2024. Then Quest Nursing was approved in November of 24 as well. And then St. Mary's College of California was approved in November of 24.
Quite a few schools.
So just our last board meeting, looks like 3 schools were approved to this location to move forward. That those students aren't here yet, and will be, joining this area soon. That would be the same thing with this school, is Gurnick is not established there yet. They would be approved as a feasibility, the same as the other ones here. These other ones, though, are new nursing programs for the most part. And this is an established nursing program that's doing a satellite or an alternate campus.
That is the concern that I have. It is something that I really worry about. And, you know, I just feel like we're adding to the problems of students.
Yeah, I have to agree with you, Trish. I know exactly how you feel.
Something you guys have done before too is ask people to look at other areas. That you have done that before for feasibilities. You haven't denied them, but you asked them to look for another area or region that could be less impacted.
Well, Gurnick is already it's in Concord, correct?
Areas would,
Yeah.
you know, that might be somewhat contiguous. Would we have a more favorable impression?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just talking about historically.
Yeah.
This is why I'm glad you're making the decisions and I'm just the liaison.
So
I don't have any insight to it either.
the option can be that you defer this to the board and have a more robust discussion with everybody there. The other option that Dr. Mary McCarthy mentioned is there has been times where with the feasibility, you defer them and have them kind of explore other areas and come back and let us know if that's even possible. There was a few that have come back to us who have demonstrated that they could not look in another location. The reason that we do ask this is a large investment for the program as well as the staff for a feasibility, unlike these others. So our typical substantive change requests that we get in from our nursing programs have a fee associated with it. And that fee is $2,500. When we're looking at new campus locations, new program locations, that fee increases to $40,000 when we're looking at feasibility for new programs. This here is still just considered a substantive change. It is $2,500. But I wanted to make sure that you guys understood that that's some of the reasons when we're looking at new programs coming in, establishing brand new, you guys typically defer because of the $40,000 that they've invested in this, and we give them an opportunity to not deny their application, but to do further research and come back and give the board additional information so that they can either approve or modify that request in any way. This one is, although it's considered still a feasibility, it's a feasibility for a new campus. It is an established program, so it is considered a substantive change under 1432, and it does only carry a $2,500 fee versus the $40,000 fee. So just wanted to drop that in there for you guys.
Thank you, Lori. I'm in favor of the program possibly looking at other areas and coming back maybe to board with that information. Would that be too soon?
Yes, that would be way too soon.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, so if you had them defer to look at other areas right now, for them to come back to the board, that's usually a 6-month process. So you could either make the recommendation to defer this to the board. They would still come forward in the board in February. And if the board did their kind of normal process that they typically do, is they make a motion to accept the recommendations of the Education Licensing Committee. So if you had a specific deferring and you then made the motion that said, I make a motion to request this program to look at alternate areas and bring that in front of the board, that would be a motion that the board could accept in February. Or you can do what you did at the last one, where you deferred any major decision like that to full discussion of the board. And then in February, as part of that discussion, you could make a recommendation that you think they need to look in another location, and then you could have a motion made around that if that's something you wanted to do, and have that be more of a larger board discussion versus a committee discussion.
Ms. Sanchez, I see your hand, but
Thank
our
you.
EO
Thank
was
you.
talking at the time, so I did not want to interrupt her to recognize you.
Thank you for recognizing Mr. Helio. Gurnik Academy of Medical Arts.
Let me find, Lori, are you done?
I am at this point, yes.
Okay, thank you, Lori.
Thank you, Mr. Helio. Our Gurnik Academy of Medical Arts is not new to San Jose. We are here. We have been here. Also, we've been in Region 1 since 2005. We have an established VN program in San Mateo at the time, and then we moved in 2023. And also, we have had ADN and BSN programs since 2018. We've never also requested for increases like other schools. We have been very collaborative and part of consortium from Central Valley to the Bay Area. Also, we never had any record nor any schools complaining of being displaced. If you look at, if you can please take time before you move and vote to defer any and allow us to talk as a school, you know, with equitable eyes to look at. Even here in San Jose, we have a total of 39 EDP IO1. 7 of those are acute care. And also, if you look at the documents, you will see how many spaces are available. And also to make it clear to the board here as well, that the OB and pediatric sites, we don't also settle for just hospitals to crowd Zuckerberg or any Alameda Healthcare Systems and Kaiser. We have healthcare centers, urgent cares, pediatric care centers as well. We have reached out to 13 schools and we've had meetings with other schools. So if you can please consider and look at our request. Over the years, we have seen so many schools approved. We have been in, you know, Gurnik has been established since 2005. We also want to make sure as well that we want to provide access or mobility to our LVN students to move into their advanced placement and the BSN. If you also look at our pass rates in the VN program, it has been very steady. And we've also had the last visit from our NEC and supervising NEC, Katie Doherty and Mary Jane Rosenblatt last year, and we did not have any infractions or violations as well. And then our 5-year continuing approval was given to us in Concord, as well as also in Fresno as well. And of course, during the pandemic, we've had struggles. We've had no problems with our faculty. And so I just want to make sure that we are given the opportunity to also be heard, as well as we've seen schools in October that were granted that never had an RN program. We've been there. We've been very respectful to schools in the Central Valley, supported schools that have been here for their increases as well. If you can just take time to look at this, and you have not seen Gurnik requested any additional cohorts over the years. You don't see that in meeting minutes or agenda. This is after so many years of waiting for this since 2021, sending letters to please put us in the agenda. Finally, we're here. We have a big campus here. We have career services. We have 91% of our students placed. We've never also heard our students going to you saying that they didn't find jobs, that they have to go to another state. So we've been true, respectful, actually very respectful, and even like, okay, we'll back out because there's the big schools over here. And we've been very innovative and strategic as well to find placements, not just hospitals, but also urgent cares for pediatric, OB, and to even the last time I met with another school and even gave suggestion also pediatric clinical sites, and to share it with them and ideas how to gain additional sites for peds and OB. So thank you for hearing us out, and to have this finally an opportunity after so many years of being in the agenda and trying to be in the agenda. Thank you.
Can I ask for some clarification? You've said that a couple times that you
Yes.
after so many years finally being on the agenda. Can you clarify, have you asked for enrollment increases before and you were not on the agenda? Or
No, not in
I just want to make sure that.
We're trying to clarify.
Thank you, Lori. I
before we
wondered
let
that
San
too.
Mateo. Thank you. The San Mateo, when we tried to request way back in 2021 with another NEC, but we did not get any a response from that. And we have a change of NEC finally this time with Ms. Dorothy and being brought forth into the agenda and given that opportunity, as well as other private colleges as well. And if you look at, you will never hear Gurnick a lot of increases or putting that in a business standpoint. If you look at the 112, that's 28 students per class. That's not 40 students or 60 students. We're very mindful of our ratio and also making sure we follow all the, the direct patient care, the simulation. And it shows in our last visit that we never had any violations as well.
Okay, so Gurnick Academy did a new program in February of 2018 to Fresno. And then Gurnick Academy did another new campus location in September of 2019 to San Mateo. Is that correct? And so this is the first time that you're asking for another new campus since 2019.
Yes.
I just want to be clear that you have not made requests to our NEC and they haven't been brought forward to our board. This is the third request. Your prior two went forward to the board and were approved. This is your third request for a new campus. It is now coming forward in front of a board committee, and we are making a decision based on that today.
Thank you, Ms. Nelson. I appreciate that. We have been very mindful of our impact to clinical sites and also, to how many graduates we've had. We don't just have career services. We have Gurnick Edge wherein we involve our hospitals and clinical sites to even do mock interviews and then making sure that who fits in their, future employees. We match that to them. So there's a very specific that way our graduates won't go out into other states. And in terms of supporting other schools and increasing them, we've always been 112. We never went up to 120. Even with shared building, we've been very, very collaborative and respectful of one another. And we just want to be in there. And we have this established site now, our own, here in San Jose. We've been in Region 1 since 2005.
And just so the committee members are aware, 112 is exactly what their enrollments are for the other two campus locations. And then thank you guys for taking your patience with that as I clarify. If there are statements that come across in a committee meeting or a board meeting that says we've asked to come forward and we weren't allowed to, or we've been trying to come forward and we couldn't, it really looks negative upon our board and our board processes. And that's something that I always have to address. And
No, I was going to ask the question also.
Thank you. And thank you for allowing that to be clear, that was not us blocking, that was not the BRN saying, no, you can't come forward, that was a decision from the school that chose to be mindful, like you had stated, and consider the impact and not come forward at that point. So just to clarify that so that we're not doing additional reach outs to find out what occurred so that you guys were denied to come forward. So thank you. Appreciate that.
Thank you, Ms. Melby.
So what you're looking at for this campus is to enroll 2 cohorts of 28 students in June of this year, correct?
Yes, Mr. Helio.
So that's 56 students.
Mm-hmm.
And then another cohort of 28 in September.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So
And
that's
one
84
is LVN, LVN to RN.
And then for 2026 and beyond, enroll 3 times a year, 4 cohorts of 28 students. So you're increasing 1 more cohort next year in 2026, correct?
Yes, which is our established pattern as the other.
So your annual enrollment will be
112
to match your other 2 campuses.
Mm-hmm.
Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Same pattern.
Committee members, are there any questions or comments you would like to ask the school or offer any insight?
I appreciate very much the explanation, but the problem is that they're proposing to add 112 students to an area that is very heavily impacted and in which we have approved hundreds of students in the last several months. And so I'm concerned about that. And I'm very comfortable deferring this to the full board and having a conversation about it.
Yeah, I think we do need to have a conversation about this. I agree with you, Trish. So I'm in favor of deferring also to the board, but do we have anybody in public comment?
I'm not sure we opened it. Did we open it yet?
I don't think we did for Gurnick.
Right. So if we could do that next, if you like.
BRN moderator, can you please open it up for public comment?
We will be opening for public comment now. Please refer to the screen share for members of the public to see how they should type in their request for comment. I've activated the question and answer feature. Members of the public can indicate they would like to make a comment by typing into the question box, "I would like to make a comment." Please remember, you will have 2 minutes to make your comments. I will not give a reminder as your time approaches. I do not want to interrupt you nor cause you to lose your train of thought. I will mute your microphone and inform you that your time has expired, and we'll move on to the next member of the public. I'll pause for a moment for members of the public to type in, "I would like to make a comment." Committee Chair Trujillo, there are no public requests for comments on the WebEx. We have no public requests for comments in our Sacramento location. Would you like me to close this window?
Yes, thank you. At this point, I'm in favor of taking this to board. Is that what the committee members would like to see, or do you have another idea?
Be my preference.
Yeah. Do we need to make a motion for that?
Yeah, you make a motion to defer this decision on this, on 8.7 to the full board.
Okay.
And then it'll just be discussed in the full board.
Okay. So at this point, do I have to read anything about do not accept the physical? I don't have to do that. We're
Nope.
just deferring. Okay.
Yep, defer making a decision on the Gurnick feasibility and
Okay.
move it to the February board meeting.
At this time, I would like to make a motion to defer the decision on Gurnick Academy for the feasibility study to the full board in February 2025. Is there anything else I need to add to that?
We just need a second. That's it.
I'll second it.
Thank you. So we'll take a vote. Dolores Trujillo votes yes. Tricia Nguyen,
Win, yes.
Jovita Dominguez.
Jovita votes yes.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. I think that brings us, does that bring us to the end of our agenda?
It does for ELC. Yes. So
Okay.
you guys can adjourn. And then Tricia would stay on for EIIC.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank
Tricia,
you.
you're on mute.
Lori, will we take a 10-minute break to get situated?
At least. Yes.
Yeah,
Definitely.
let's start up at 2:45.
You are the chair. You can make that happen. Yeah.
Thanks,
so
Jovita.
thank you.
No,
Jovita.
thank you, ladies. I appreciate
Thank
it.
you all.
Thank you, Reza.
Thank you all.
And thank you, Marianne McCarthy.